Thank you, Lee. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. See you tomorrow morning. It's the 9 till noon show now, and it's Good Morning with the latest news headlines to Daniel Brennan. Good morning, Daniel.
Morning, Greg. EU leaders have reached a compromise to impose an embargo on all Russian oil brought in by sea, which European leaders say consists of 90% of all oil imports from Russia. EU members spent hours struggling to resolve their differences over the ban, with Hungary its main opponent. The deal will cut off a huge source of funding for Russia's war with Ukraine. A senior government minister says there's no justification for the delay seen recently at Dublin Airport. The government's demanded a plan from the DAA by this morning to ensure there's no repeat of the scenes witnessed on Sunday, when 1,000 people missed their flights and thousands of passengers were forced to queue for hours outside and inside the terminal buildings. Finance Minister Pascal Donohoe says the airport has many indicators that allow it to know what kind of demands it's facing.
Even if there are things that could be done differently or better to the structure of our aviation sector here in Ireland, it is a sector that has served our country very well in recent years, but nothing can explain or justify what happened over the last number of days. It must, and the government expects that it will improve.
And finally, Donegal Action for Cancer Care says it's received confirmation that the second breast surgeon post at Letterkenny University Hospital has now been made permanent. The incumbent took up the position in 2017, but it emerged at the time that the position was offered on a temporary basis, and DACC Chair Betty Humph says since then they've been striving to ensure the position was made permanent. She says as long as the position was operating on a locum basis, patients and their advocates had concerns for its future.
Our fear was that a permanent post would be offered elsewhere, and again, what we would have seen was another key element of key services at Letterkenny Hospital being in danger. The ACC initially came together 17 years ago to actually get a breast surgeon for Letterkenny Hospital. So that was the first one, and now we've got our permanent second breast surgeon confirmed.
That's all from the news desk for now. I'll be back at 10 o'clock with a full news bulletin, but until then, good morning.
Ihe an déanóibh a bhí ann dé déanamh an tríú Abrán, agus chun na chóirithirí críochna ag bailiú firmacha déanóibh. Ní mór gach firm a cheola arás. Mar sin, mar bhfuil déir an bailithe le a thol, sair fustan is sé, chuig an seola ar thaobhtosaigh na firma. Tá breis eolas le fáil ar census.ie, bís an áireamh.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. It is literally just turning 3 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 31st of May. How are you keeping? I do hope you are well. And I hope you're with us now for the next 3 hours in this programme and throughout the day here on Highland Radio. The lines are open for you right now, by the way. If you want to comment on anything we've lined up for you or raise your own issues, share your own stories, 086 60 25 000, your WhatsApps and texts. If you're listening to us or indeed watching us outside of the Republic, 0035386 60 25 000, get involved. And we still like to get your calls on 074 91 25 000 and your emails to comments at highlandradio.com. All right, let's run through what's making the front pages of the newspapers today. The Donegal People's Press, they say that the HSE's failure to publish the findings of investigations into services for disabled adults at a centre in Donegal is eroding public faith in its ability to run such services, Donegal TD Thomas Pringle has said. He was speaking following reports that a follow-up probe into Ardgrinny Court in Stranraer has been published internally by the HSE. Last year, an executive summary of the so-called Brandon report was published before Christmas, revealing 108 incidences of sexual abuse carried out against the facility at the facility between 2003 and 2016. The HSE has not published the full report. Mr. Pringle, who first raised concerns about Ardgrinny Court in the Dáil, said, "I don't think anybody knew that this report has been done. This report needs to be made public, and the Brandon report needs to be made public by the HSE." Good news on the front of the Derry Journal. Lidl Ireland has confirmed it proposes to invest €7 million in Carndonagh following the granting of planning permission for a new store in the town. The retailer yesterday welcomed the decision from Donegal County Council to grant permission for a brand new state-of-the-art store on the Station Road and said it will create around 30 new jobs, with the project supporting 100 additional construction jobs throughout the development phase. Lidl's plans for the new location are set to incorporate a range of sustainable features, including an ISO 50001 certified energy management system, electric vehicle charger places, and a solar panel system. It said it will also offer the customers a superior shopping experience with a spacious interior layout, high ceilings and wide aisles. You don't really want the middle one. Okay, so that's good news for Carndon, I presume. On to the Irish Times now, and we're being warned over our €9 billion corporate tax risk. The problem here is that with the money that comes into government to spend on services and what have you, for every €4, one of those euros is coming from corporate tax. And the majority of that is coming from a very small amount of people. So we are potentially investing in education and health, leveraging it against this corporate tax income. But that could go like that. You know, Google or Apple, whomever the big corporate taxpayers are, they could say, right, you know, we're not based in Ireland, we have a base there, but we're going to move that somewhere else. So the rug could be pulled from under us very, very quickly. So they're concerned that we can't commit to long-term spending on what potentially could be a short-term income. It's basic stuff that you can't do in your own home, really, and we can't be doing it as a country. But I'll read on, but that's the basics of it, as much as I understand. And as much as 9 billion or 60% of the government corporate tax take may be temporary, meaning it cannot be counted on in the future, the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council has said, and they've said it again. In its latest report, the financial watchdog said the government's over-reliance on volatile and vulnerable corporation tax receipts posed a significant threat to the public finances and needed to be reduced as a matter of urgency. It suggested the government could unwind the over-reliance by rebuilding the so-called rainy day fund or by paying down debt. In other words, using this temporary money, store it, save it, so that we have it if some of these small amount of companies decide to do something else, or use it right now to pay down our debt, which means we'd not be spending as much on debt in the absence of this corporate tax, as we'd have made some inroads on it. The council estimated that since 2014, the state has collected some 22 billion in corporation taxes, including 6 to 9 billion from last year's 15 billion total. Beyond what can be explained by the domestic economy. In other words, these receipts do not stem from additional activity in the Irish economy, but from additional multinational profits washing through Ireland. And the council warned that a substantial portion of the excess revenue has now been absorbed into permanent spending, including health. And we all know what the risks could be there. Obviously, the situation at Dublin Airport continues to make the headlines. And we read on the front of the Independent that the Dublin Airport will head into the busy June bank holiday with staff levels at just 70% of where they were before the pandemic. And they made a lot of them redundant. And the problem is because they made them redundant, as we heard yesterday, they can't rehire them. So that skill set is not accessible to them. But I was just reading last night and I was looking at what's happening in hospitality. And the whole idea of the pandemic schemes that the government introduced, if you remember, was to keep people connected with their jobs. Do you remember that was what we were being told? Now, you have important infrastructure like Dublin Airport. They didn't keep connected with all of their employees. They made a lot of them redundant, let a lot of them go. And now here is the problem. Again, too, in hospitality. A lot of people that were in hospitality didn't stay connected to their jobs. They've decided to do something else. So a lot of money was spent being given to companies in pandemic support payments to keep that connection with their employers and employees, but it clearly hasn't happened in some sectors. Tensions remain high following a torrid weekend at Dublin Airport where more than 1,000 people missed flights as queues spilled out of the airport doors. It follows weeks of problems at the airport, which has blamed a lack of staff, among other issues, for long delays at baggage and security queries. Airport bosses were working late into the night after the government demanded solutions by this morning. Dublin Airport officials were told of ministers' immense disappointment and frustration at the scenes over the weekend. Taoiseach Micheál Martin said the answer lies within human resource management, within the DAA and planning within the organisation also. However, airport officials told The Independent they are facing a very busy bank holiday weekend with passenger numbers approaching 95% of pre-pandemic levels. Right, on to the Irish Daily Mail now. And supermarket sales are falling as shoppers across the country struggle to deal with the grocery price inflation, which is running at a 9-year high. 8 out of 10 consumers said that the rising cost of living is a key concern, and more than 6 out of 10 expect they'll have to cut back on food purchases in the near future, research has found. The latest grocery market share figures from Kantar up to mid-May show Irish take-home grocery sales have declined by 6.5% over 12 weeks. It comes as grocery price inflation reached 5.5%, the first time it's risen above 5% since August 2013. This is calculated by Kantar by comparing 30,000 identical products year on year. So what are we doing? Are we, maybe being a little bit more fussy about what we buy? Because obviously we're still we have to go in to feed ourselves and our families. But what is changing in your shopping habits? So if we're seeing a 6.5% decrease in what you're getting at the shop, what are we cutting out? Is it treats? Is it sauces? I don't know. What is it? 086 60 25,000, because it's a notable decrease, but we all, as much as we can afford to, have to feed ourselves, as I say, and our families, but we're buying less. So what is the items or the products that we are leaving behind in the shop? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. I don't know if people watch the National Lottery draw on TV. Do they? I don't know. I don't recall ever watching it. But I didn't even know it was on, if I'm being completely honest with you. I just thought people got the numbers from their app or from the websites or wherever it might be. But National Lottery chiefs have been told that their TV ads should be banned from early evening slots because they unfairly affect children. The claim was made by anti-gambling Oireachtas senator who wants a 9 p.m. curfew so lotto ads and lotto draws are not seen by children. He wants the lotto draw, which has aired at the same time on RTE since 1988 and goes out during its family night movie. He wants it after the watershed. Labour Party Senator Mark Wall said, "I find it unacceptable that we are interrupting family time on a Saturday night when thousands of families sit down to watch a movie but have that interrupted for the lotto draw. I can't for the life of me think of why the lotto can't be on at a later time. It needs to be on later." Do you think that would make any difference? Maybe it's an important part of a Saturday night. 086 60 25,000. The inevitable happened in Northern Ireland yesterday. No election of a speaker, which means there's no progress whatsoever. The Irish Sun tells us that the Northern Ireland Assembly failed for the second time to elect a new speaker yesterday. The DUP refused to back the bid, maintaining its position that it wants to see action from the UK government over the Northern Ireland Protocol. The two nominees for the role, the Ulster Unionists' Mike Nesbitt and the SDLP's Patsy McGlone, failed to secure the necessary cross-community support from MLAs. The plenary session of the Assembly was suspended as business can't be done without a speaker. MLAs were in the chamber following a recall petition brought by Sinn Féin to elect a speaker. But you can say that MLAs are doing the work in the office. We hear the same stuff from TVs during the summer holidays. We're flat out working in the constituency. But if they're not working at all up there in the official formal sense, i.e. in the Assembly, surely it's time to dock their wages now at this point. I don't know if there'd be a great appetite for that in the north, but if you're not working, you don't get paid, do you? And working to the max as well. You can't just half do your job. Right, finally in the Irish Daily Mail, if you enjoy sugar and if you enjoy coffee, this is good news for you potentially. But there'll probably be another study in about a week which tells us very different. But anyway, adding a spoonful of sugar to your cup of coffee could be the key to a longer life, a new study has found. The research suggests that coffee drinkers are at a lower risk of death compared to those who don't have it, but those who like their brew sweet are even less likely to die. The team of scientists in China found that people who drank unsweetened coffee were up to 21% less likely to die than those who did not drink coffee at all. 21% less likely. Well, we're all going to die. I don't know what they're on about here. Let me read that sentence again, because this seems to imply that coffee with sugar in makes you immortal. The team of scientists in China found that people who drank unsweetened coffee were up to 21% less likely to die than those who do not drink coffee at all. Not very well written. And those who like their coffee sweet were up to 31% less likely to die than non-coffee drinkers. listen, these people are professionals, but you will die one way or other, whether you drink coffee or not. I think this is about prolonging your life. Participants in the study who took sugar with their cuppa only added 1 spoonful on average. But I wonder, maybe it's like, I don't think, is it a spoonful of sugar in your coffee, or maybe you have a different attitude? Maybe you're more relaxed if you take sugar in your coffee and you drink coffee. Could that be possible? And that's what's extending your life and not the sugary coffee. I don't know. Any views on that? Enjoy your coffee this morning, because we've found one report that says it's good for you, and you can throw a bit of sugar in there too. No harm done, according to that China study. Right, 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts, as I mentioned, 074 91 25,000. Right, let's take a break, and we'll be back then with our first guest on the programme.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Getting married? Don't leave it too late. Book with us today at the Groom's Room in Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
New this week in Home Store and More. All roller blinds are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price roller blinds are gone, they're gone. Also, all water fountains and all pillows are still half price. But when all our half price water fountains and all our half price pillows are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 07495 32575.
Ihe an déanóibh a bhí ann dé déanamh an tríú Abron, agus tá na chóiritheoirí críochna ag bailiú firmacha déanóibh. Ní mór gach firm a cheola arás. Mar sin, mar bhfuil déir an bailithe leatherhull, sair fustan is sé, chuig an seola ar thaobh tosig na firma. Tá breis eolas le fáil ar census.ie. Bís an áireamh.
And a good morning to Annie, Rosemary, Kathleen, Michael, Ollie and Margaret among those watching the programme. You're very welcome along to it. You can watch the show in its entirety on our website, highlandradio.com, or on our social medias. Right, okay. We're joined on the programme now by Anja Friel. Anja, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Anya, beg your pardon, sorry. Anya, my mistake here.
That's fine.
You're okay. Okay, now... tell us about your son, Tristan. He's just 5 years old.
Exactly. He's 5 years old. He's coming 6 years old now in December. He has cystic fibrosis, a genetic disease that he is born with. And we're managing this, with a lot of medication, a lot of hospital visits. But we were all hoping out for this new drug, Kaftrio, that's come on the market. And our teams, our CF teams, have kind of held hope up and told us over this last year, he'll be eligible for it, he'll be getting it soon as he turns 6. And now, come end of April, we were all told, unfortunately, 35 children have been left out of that category with certain genotypes, and he is one of them.
Okay. I hope people can hear you. Your phone line's just a wee bit low, Anya, but we'll batter on. I can hear you okay. Right, so this Kaftrio, I've spoken to people who've been on this drug. I think it's well documented. This can be really, really effective. I would have thought that the sooner a person with cystic fibrosis is put on this drug, the better.
Absolutely, you're totally right with that, because obviously they don't have as many side effects, scar tissue, at that stage, So the sooner they be put on it, the less, damage to the lungs, for example, has been done, the less damage maybe to the pancreas, the less pancreatic insufficiency, CF diabetes, all these things that come along with the disease have been established in that child. So,
and presumably, it means less reliance on the drugs he's currently taking or other interventions which interfere with his life.
Exactly, and hopefully down the line it would mean that he wouldn't necessarily need a lung transplant, a kidney transplant, a liver transplant, all these things that come along with the disease.
Now, have you been told clearly why Tristan is not being given access to this drug, he and the 34 other children? Have you been told why?
So from what we've learned in the last month is that between the HSE and the company Vertex that is producing the drug, there was a deal made, and apparently everybody thought all the children were included, but these 35 children with these genotypes, because they have never been on a gen modulator beforehand, have been not included now. And that is something that just came up, really, really very, very shortly before it was meant to be rolled out, because there was a lot of children that went for their tests, eye tests, blood tests, all the things that they have to be doing in the lead up to starting a new medication. And some of them even just as close as 3 days beforehand, just to be told then you're not getting it.
Okay, because they hadn't been on what, sorry?
They haven't been on any gen modulators like, say, Orkambi. That was a big one a couple of years back.
Right, okay.
This is the first drug, actually, that he would be eligible for, in this kind.
So are they saying then that they don't believe this to be safe or it can't be proven? So in other words, is this a medical decision or a financial decision?
It is a financial decision because it is actually it is proven to be effective on these children, even more so as on other genotypes. So no, it is, and it is. It was checked on them. So
now, obviously, there's a petition has been launched, but I mean, we don't want anyone to be affected by an issue like this. But the thought that it's children and young children that could have a very, very different life. It's obviously the first situations that we want to get them to have as good a life as possible. But the impact this is having on parents and guardians and grandparents and aunts and uncles, of all of these children, to see, Tristan potentially struggle or deteriorate when you feel that does not need to happen. I mean, it just must be incredibly hard to deal with.
It is devastating for us. It's really frustrating to see. We're happy for every child that receives it, but of course we want to give our child, as much a possibility to have a normal life as possible. And this drug would be the one to make that happen.
From what you understand with this drug's use elsewhere in other children, what kind of an impact would it have on his life and how he can, get on with his life as normal as possible?
So, as you said beforehand, a lot of drugs can be cut out. He could get pancreatic sufficient again, so that he doesn't have to take medication with every time he eats. He has to take enzymes just to help him absorb the nutrition. That would be possible to let go of that. It would be possible that he can stop nebulizers and physio that he's doing for his lungs to move mucus that he has to do twice daily. At the minute, when he's unwell, he has to do it more often. So he would have kind of a normal shot at life, He would just have the same expectancies and chances as any other child. And
does he, I mean, obviously he's got his school friends and other people around his age around him. How does he cope with maybe not being able to do things that other children can, or, having to stay back and run through some of those procedures that you've talked about? How does he cope with that, Anya?
Even at this young age, he's very aware that there is something different about him, which is kind of sad to see, because he keeps on asking, so Mommy, when I'm a big brother's age, can I stop this? Can I then stop this? And even his bigger brother, who's 7 years old, is asking, so if Tristan is a little bit older than me, would he be then able to stop all this? And what you have to tell him is, no, this is a progressive disease. There could be actually more that he has to do.
Yeah. I mean, those are very difficult conversations to be having with a 5-year-old for you, like.
Yeah, absolutely. To explain to him this is not getting better, even though we are doing all the stuff.
Right. Have we heard anything from the Minister for Health or any government representatives on this decision that affects these 35 children? Have we got an official line for them? What are they saying?
So from what we heard, it was actually that the minister was not aware of this fact. He was made aware of it now, a couple of, probably about a week back. And we hope that through the petition, change.org, that it would be a topic in the Dáil, obviously. We don't really get a good feedback from the HSE. It's a very generic answer they sent to everyone, that they want the best for every child, which is not true, really. If they're just excluding them like this.
Yeah. If anyone wants to sign this petition, what do they search or where do they find the link on you? We can share it on our social media as well, of course. But
it is change.org, and it's 35 children, that's the F, if you just type that into the...
Okay, it'll automatically load up. Yeah. Okay, well, listen, I hope you get a positive decision soon, so Tristan has the best chance of getting off the meds and having a normal life. I really hope you get some positive news soon, Anya.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me to highlight this topic.
No problem, thank you. That is Anya Friel. Her son, 5-year-old Tristan, cystic fibrosis, is on a lot of drugs and medical interventions at the moment. They believe that if he were on Kaftrio, that he would have a much better standard of life, would not need as much sort of interventions and what have you. I think there's no one listening that doesn't think that should happen, is there? He's one of 35 children in Ireland being denied access to this drug. And if you want to sign that online petition, go to change.org and you can search 35 children cystic fibrosis, and it should pop up there. All right, if you've got a view on that, 08660 25,000. You may also want to have a view on this. Can you get a discussion going with a dentist within the county still charging €25 for PPE as additional cost per treatment per person? I've done a small bit of research. One dental practice in Wicklow charging €5, some Dublin dental practices not charging for PPE, so it varies from practice to practice. And in case of County Donegal, the practice, the price seems very high. So is it a case that your dentist still charging €25 for PPE? Or maybe it's a different figure, or maybe they're not charging at all. Can it be justified now? I presume wearing PPE in that field is... it pretty much should be standard practice. We have no restrictions in this country any longer. So is it acceptable that a patient should take the burden of this cost, if indeed it is being applied? We're asking you out there, if you've been to the dentist recently, were you charged an additional charge for PPE? Or maybe you challenged the dentist. What did they say? Get in touch with us. That number for you again, 086 60 25,000, or call 07491 25,000. A caller says, I know why shopping is down 6%. Everyone's getting their alcohol across the border. Well, that might explain it on the border. But of course, the 6% reduction in shopping in supermarkets, etc., it's across the country. And, once you're, below Sligo, maybe even probably it's slightly north of that, I don't think you're going across the border to shop, even for booze, because it no longer becomes financially viable. I was in a shop in Foyleside. It did not take euro notes. They did take card payment. Is this becoming the done thing? Well, we've had texts along those lines going back pre-pandemic anyway, just in case we think it's to do with that. I'm not sure how widespread it is, but it's not new. It's something I've heard about on this programme for quite some time now.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing and Tiles, serving the Northwest for over 40 years. Explore our showroom with more than 40 displays. Choose from an array of shower doors, shower trays, baths and bathroom accessories. Speak with an expert about tile selection and wall paneling. We also stock an array of of plumbing, heating and stove spare parts, as well as a great selection of kitchen mixers and radiators at our trade counter. Our stove department is also available for you to choose a style that suits your needs and complements your home. McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Buncrana. We're here for you.
Sportswear for men at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Under Armour training, quarter zips, tech tees with classic training shorts in different lengths. Nike running range with quarter zips. Nike Pro t-shirts match with a classic 5-inch Nike running shorts. Adidas Tiro 21 range in new seasonal colours will have you looking healthy and fit. Look the part, play the part. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
What will your June feel like? Will you immerse mind, body and soul in the deep of sea or lake? Or scale new heights on one long roller coaster of adventure? To spread our wings and take one long, wonderful exhale. That's the bank holiday feeling. And June's long weekend is the perfect time to feel and bank it all. Ireland is waiting. Start planning at discoverireland.ie to make the most of your June bank holiday. And keep discovering. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Okay, so we are heading into that time of the year where we're likely to spend more time outdoors, particularly, I suppose, if the weather plays ball. So a good time to talk about a new awareness campaign, Leave No Trace. It urges care and respect for our outdoor spaces. Maura Keeley is CEO of Leave No Trace Ireland. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Right. Now, before we get into the ins and outs of it, I wonder what is the balance here in terms of our responsibility when we're at our beaches or our parks or our lakes or wherever we go, Maura, to make sure that we leave no trace behind us, and how much of that is our responsibility, and how much is it the responsibility of local authorities like Donegal County Council and others to ensure that there are, adequate bins to put in, dog waste if we happen to bag that. What's the tipping point there?
It's a difficult balance to get, in particular when you talk about outdoor spaces, because having bins isn't a solution to have at every site across the country, whether it's a woodland, a beach, or on the top of a mountain. So a much more strategic approach is around making sure that people are educated and understand that we have a shared responsibility when we're going to outdoor spaces to just be adequately prepared. We're asking people to plan ahead, bring a bag and bring it home. We certainly recognise that in some sites, particular urban sites, where there is huge footfall, that there's a place for bins as a direct management strategy to litter. But actually we know that when you put bins in outdoor spaces, it actually attracts more waste and more dumping. So look, that's where the research leads us to understand that education is the future in terms of this as a strategy to change behaviour. Right.
Now, I don't want to wave the white flag on this issue, okay, but what I think the situation is, and I don't know what the percentages are, but the absolute majority of people would not dream of leaving rubbish behind them. They'd not throw takeaway packages out the window. They would not leave their dog poo everywhere. They would not light a fire for fear of causing a gauze fire. I think that's the majority. But I think there is a proportion of us who are very rigid in our views that they don't care. And we talk every year about these problems, but I think it's how do you get through to that group of individuals that don't care? They have no respect for their neighbours. They've got no respect for the environment. They've got no respect for our beaches. They don't care if their dog off a lead scares a person. Do you get my point? Like, I just think most of the people listening, you're pushing an open door, but how do you get through to that group that probably are responsible for the majority of this?
Well, I agree. A lot of people do know how to behave when they go outside. But it's really interesting. We now know that there are record numbers of new visitors going into the outdoors, and that's as a result of COVID. COVID has reawakened our appreciation for what's on our doorstep. And we also know from research that a lot of people have told us that they are unclear about what the correct behaviour is in regards to going outside. So while there's anecdotal kind of evidence to say, we should all know, in actual fact, we now know that people are unclear about what the absolute guidelines are for good practice. And that's why this campaign is really simply practical and very much giving very clear, simple advice that anyone can do when we go outside.
Okay,
and
so
yes,
I suppose let's start with littering. The simplest one is bring something with you to gather your waste.
that's it. Plan ahead. That's the first piece. Plan ahead. If you're bringing something out into the outdoors, we're just asking you to plan ahead and bring a bag and bring your rubbish home. And when you come home, dispose of it correctly.
Dog control and fouling. This is one on this program. I'm sure it's the same everywhere else. We barely go a day without someone saying the state of a certain area with dog poo, or I can't enjoy this area because there's dogs running off the lead. Your group has identified this as a particular problem. Talk to me about that.
It's probably one of the biggest issues in the countryside. We know that there are over 800,000 dogs now, and 1 in 4 people have dogs. We also know that a lot of people do not agree around and maybe are unclear about what the best practice is when they're bringing their dog in the outdoors. There's a whole suite of issues, but the key ones are dog fouling and particularly dog control around private landowners. So when it comes to dog fouling, we're asking people absolutely go outside, have a great time with your dog, but you have a responsibility. We all have a shared responsibility to bring a bag and bring the dog poo and dispose of it adequately.
Yeah, because, it's probably quite an easy connection to make that if my dog poos on a footpath in a town, well, to pick that up. But maybe people think because it's a big wide open space like a park or a beach that there's less requirement to do so. But that's simply not the case. Anyone who's stepped in it.
Yes. And it's really, we know from our research as well that when people understand the why, that they are much more likely to change their behaviour. So we know that dog fouling and dog waste is a serious health hazard to children if it's left on beaches. If there's dog feces in upland areas, it can actually cause huge problems with livestock. So it can cause an early abortion in calves and lambs. So when people start to understand that, they think, geez, I never knew that. So I'm going to bring a bag the next time and I'm going to take responsibility. And not leave any waste.
Yeah, and we will hear people say, and I sort of started off with it as a question that, well, I'll pick up the dog poo, but the bin that the councillor provided is full or there's nowhere to put it. I mean, these bags, for the most part, I think, I don't have a dog, they contain the product and its smell. You put it in your boot of your car and take it home and dump it there.
Yes, absolutely. And it's much more accessible. I think a number of years ago, it was hard to buy those bags, but they're available in every store now. And what we're urging people to do is not to depend on the dog bins, even if they're full, just to bring the bag.
Well, we've seen the bags hung on the full bins, but I mean, obviously you really need, if that's the case, take it home. That's what the responsible thing is to do. That's what we're talking about here, what the responsible thing is to do.
Yeah, and people look to us for what is the best thing I can do. Well, we're asking people, bring the dog bag and bring that dog waste home.
And keeping your dog under control. Obviously, this year is somewhat different on our blue flag beaches because there's parts of those beaches in this county and it's being adopted elsewhere whereby dogs simply aren't allowed between certain times. But more generally speaking, you're saying that you should be considerate. Keep your dog on a lead, a relatively short lead. You see an awful lot, and people think it's a small dog, it's okay. These really, really long leads where the dog actually can run up to people, it's on a lead, but it's not serving its purpose to keep the dog under control.
Yeah, look, we recognise that, look, if you keep your dog on a lead and just be considerate of others as well. And I think that once people understand that, a lot of people love dogs, but some people are genuinely afraid of dogs.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I think we actually have, not you, or I think we have that balance a bit skewed. I don't think it's like, 90% of people have no fear of dogs and 10% do. I think it's actually, the balance is narrower than that. I think a lot of people, even dog owners, are very nervous around other people's dogs.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we're starting to see that more and more, where people are being a bit more vocal. I think there's a whole emotive piece around dog ownership now in Ireland, because there are conflicts around, my dog wouldn't do that, or my dog wouldn't hurt anybody else.
And dogs are very much a part of the family, and
they
trigger the same emotions, protective emotions that we might have about our children for some people.
And it is happening across the countryside, and that's why, again, we love dogs and we want everyone to enjoy the outdoors with your dogs, but just to be very mindful that this is how you do it in a responsible way to the environment, but also being careful and respectful in your local community when you're outdoors walking your dog.
Campfires and barbecues, another focus of this year's campaign.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So we know from recent years, when the sun shines in Ireland, everybody flocks to the beaches. And
for a bit of food poisoning.
And we have we have incredible landscape here to enjoy in Ireland. But look, we just want people to understand the impact of a barbecue that is being, I suppose, unkept in a woodland or in an area that has other visitors around. Last year we saw lots of people who had barbecues, and that they didn't dispose of the barbecue correctly. They buried them in the beaches, thinking that that was appropriate, and we had a lot of burns from young children walking on that. Now, we also saw a lot of fires starting because of barbecues as well. So really, we're saying do not use disposable barbecues in the countryside. We're asking people not to do that.
Are you satisfied that we sort of maintain what seems to be a guidance and appeals type of situation here, or is more enforcement required? We're a massive country. The amount of people that would be required for full enforcement, obviously not practical. But if people thought there was a chance that they could fall foul, no pun intended, of the authorities, they might be more inclined to follow the rules. Is enforcement part of the plan?
Look, it's a difficult balance to strike, and enforcement has to be part of it. But I think there needs to be a coordinated approach at national level to education and enforcement. And that's starting to happen now. In Ireland, we have our first national outdoor recreation strategy being launched this year by Minister Heather Humphreys. And a huge component of that is raising awareness around respect and care around the outdoor recreation. Mm-hmm. And part of that will also link in with the piece around enforcement, because there are issues that need to be managed for the percentage that will not respond to education.
Okay, Maura, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Nice to speak to you. Nice to see you.
Thank you. We encourage you to visit leavenotraceireland.org and check out Love This Place.
Okie doke, thanks very much indeed. Maura Keeley there, CEO of Leave No Trace Ireland. What do you think? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Right, some of your comments coming in so far this morning. Don't forget, by the way, coming up after 10 o'clock, Community Garda Information, where we get the latest appeals and information from the Garda Síochána here in County Donegal. My neighbour was attacked 10 days ago on the beach. If the dog was on a lead, they wouldn't have been attacked. If you go anywhere and you don't have your dog on a lead, and there are people and other dogs about, you don't know what will happen. What about people going to the cinema and leaving their rubbish behind them for someone else to pick up after them, which is their attitude from house to cinema, beaches and streets? So they're saying, are they, that if you're inclined to sort of leave your mess behind you at the cinema and let someone else pick it up, you might be similarly inclined to leave it behind you outside? Hi, Greg, Vinny here. I was on with you not so long ago about a fundraiser for cystic fibrosis, hugely successful one it was too. Just listening to Anya about her son with CF. If I thought the drug was available for my cousin Mark when he was 5 or 6 years old and he wasn't getting it, I would be devastated. And of course, Mark is on a drug now and having fantastic response to it. It's really changed his life. But Vinny says, it's a miracle drug, give it to them. Mark is living proof of it. Okay, yeah, indeed. Thanks for that, Vinny, and congratulations again, by the way, on what you did. It was a really well organised and successful fundraiser. Good morning, Greg. We took our dog to the beach on Sunday. We went to the small beach outside Killybegs, Fintra, which is beautiful. A beautiful beach. It was great to see a good few poo bins on the beach, which we availed of. Furthermore, there's a portable toilet there, to which it was very clean and tidy, and was great to see also. Just wanted to give it a mention. Well done to all on such a well-kept beach. Yes, Fintra is a beautiful beach, no doubt about it. Good to see the infrastructure there, but those bins have to be emptied. But if they're full, will people still take their poo home? I live in the countryside, and people come in from the town to walk their dogs. They don't keep them on a lead, and they are running through the fields. I've heard a few farmers complaining and saying it's causing their sheep to lose their lambs before reaching full-term pregnancy. Is there a legal obligation to keep your dog on a lead, they ask. And I do feel, by the way, during these conversations, for the dog owners that are listening to the programme, who very much love their dogs, and the majority of them, as I said, really, really care for them and care for them in the public environment. But between, walking them on country roads, people giving out, don't go into fields or whatever, people giving out, being banned from certain parts of beaches, probably even feel that if you go on a beach where your dog is allowed, that everyone's looking at you, wondering, they were talking about that on the radio during the week. Like, I do feel there has to be a balance struck, and I feel for those people out there. Maybe you're one of them, that you're almost being embarrassed as a dog owner. Is that the emotion? How does it feel? I can imagine if I were in that situation, that's how I would feel. Let me know how you're feeling. Call Michaela on 07491 25000 or WhatsApp or text on 08660 25000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €25 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Is your car due a service? For the month of May, get your car serviced at iMotors Letterkenny and avail of a free vehicle health check and a free oil change. For more details, check out our website or Facebook. Call us today on 074 913 4567 to book in.
Terms and conditions apply. Inishowen Credit Union has recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonagh, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballyshannon should attend the clinic in Coloshtha Columkill in College Street on Monday 30th of May, and donors from Donegal, Killybegs and Dunlow should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal Town from Tuesday 31st of May to Thursday 2nd of June. All donors need to make an appointment, so call 1-800 731 137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to beautiful Mallorca every Friday this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best beaches. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
So a mix of clear spells and cloudy periods this morning with a few isolated showers too. A little more cloud will build this afternoon and the showers will become more persistent for a time this afternoon and evening. Light northerly breezes, temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. I'll give you the weather for tomorrow. A cloudy start with a few isolated showers, clearing early. It'll stay cloudy though through the afternoon, but clear spells will develop by evening. Temperatures tomorrow 15 to 17 degrees. So maybe we are edging towards slightly more drier weather. Got this in from one of our listeners. They say, my son presented with chicken pox. I asked my mother had I ever had them, as I'm currently 12 weeks pregnant and know that chickenpox can be dangerous in pregnancy. She was unsure and couldn't remember, so I telephoned Gynae in Letterkenny to clarify the matter. They advised me that I needed to attend Gynae. However, I had to come in through A&E to provide a blood sample so they could check me for immunity. I spent 3 hours in A&E in Letterkenny feeling uneasy and uncomfortable as a lady vomiting sat in the seat beside me and another lady was sneezing and coughing just in front of me. I did think about going outside to be on the safe side, but worried that I wouldn't hear my name being called and would miss my spot. I did eventually get triaged and was asked to provide a urine sample before I attended gynae and was asked to sit back out in the A&E waiting area. I went to the bathroom to provide my urine sample in the ED. However, there was a mother with a young boy with diarrhoea, so I had to let them in front of me, for the mother feared he was going to be caught short. I eventually gave my blood sample to the nurse in the ED and did not even make it to gynae, as it was only one blood sample I had to provide. My point is, I felt very unsafe and vulnerable as a pregnant woman sitting among numerous people who were actually ill in the ED, and I was supposed to be in gynae to give a blood sample. I spent almost 3 hours exposed to God knows what diseases unnecessarily. Can someone please clarify why pregnant women are being subject to long sits in the ED for pregnancy-related queries? It used to be with my other pregnancies that you rang ahead, the gynae department booked you in at the front entrance, and you had your wristband and stickers ready when you arrived, and you waited in an unpacked waiting room in the gynae department until you were called. The system made sense. This system doesn't. The new system means women who may even be experiencing a miscarriage and deserve a bit of privacy and dignity are made to sit in a packed room full of people, some of whom may potentially have contagious illnesses, until they are triaged by the nurses and processed from the ED to gynae. This is a disgrace in my opinion, and as a woman I felt like a second-class citizen being forced to sit in the ED to be processed for gynae. I know the hospitals are under pressure, and especially the ED, but surely the likes of myself or other pregnant women attending gynae but have to check in through the ED are only adding to the traffic flow problem in the department. Okay, there's a lot there. What do you think of that situation? 086 60 25,000. Have your say. Right, Dr. Marie Hainsworth, manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre, joins us on the programme. Doctor, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am good. Right, now, organisations like yours are on alert for any potential exploitation of Ukrainian refugees. Is this to sort of make sure that we are in before anything's happening, Marie, or are you getting some sense that there are those trying to exploit these people?
Well, I suppose it's come on the back of, there were articles in the national papers last week or the week before in relation to escort sites that were actively advertising Ukrainian women. But it was being done in a kind of feeding into a male fantasy of wanting to have a war experience. And I suppose that just kind of sent a few shockwaves around, you know, support agencies working in the areas of sexual assault, sexual violence, domestic violence. Because, I suppose while it might be obvious that this was going to happen, it kind of caught us a little bit unawares. So on the back of that, I suppose we've been looking at just, you know, making sure that information about services is out there and just raising awareness so that people might be on the lookout for any signs of things that are not, you know, maybe appropriate, or, you know, just accepting that there's another vulnerable group of people in the country. It's not just Ukrainian refugees. Any vulnerable group is likely to be exposed or exploited in such a way.
I mean, obviously, there's money to be made here, and there are people that will try and take advantage of that. And the reason there's money to be made is because there seems to be, like, what's wrong with the Men of Ireland here? There seems to be a clientele for war fantasies. Actually, people we're seeing a spike in people searching on the internet, searches relating to having sex with Ukrainian women. I mean, what's going on with the attitude of men who are the main people doing this, I presume? And also, you know, we get websites that release the top searches, you know, adult websites, and it can be geolocated to Ireland, and some of the stuff that's being searched for there. Is there something needs to be done, or is there a conversation need to be had about that? Why are people searching for this stuff?
I think there always needs to be a conversation. It's not just the Irish men, but it's definitely, I think in the past we might have thought it wasn't an issue that affected Ireland as much. But it's, you know, it's here as much as anywhere else. It's in Donegal as much as it is in Dublin. You know, it is an issue that's on our doorsteps. And I think, it's not just around, you know, sort of war fantasies or extremes. It's, you know, we're seeing it within cases of clients coming into our service where, just even in a partner relationship, you're expected to have sex with your friends, or, that there's money to be made even within what they're classing as a relationship. We would be saying that that's an element of prostitution. If people are selling you and making money out of you for having sex with someone else, that's not a healthy relationship. And I think those conversations need to start happening, particularly amongst young people, which is where I think maybe the attitudes can be, people aren't as aware. They're more vulnerable to being manipulated, both men and women, in terms of how you behave in a relationship. Yeah, that behaviour does need to be challenged. And I think older people need to get involved in conversations and not think it's an issue that doesn't affect them just because they're in a stable relationship. They need to be engaging with conversations all the time with people. We don't hear enough about what a healthy relationship is. All we hear are the negative sides of what an unhealthy relationship is.
How can you best protect people from the potential for exploitation?
I think it's raising awareness about what's out there and availability and support. A lot of exploitation relies on isolation. It relies on people being uninformed about what supports are available. So the more people who are out there working with vulnerable communities who are aware of all of the supports, who are aware of where you can go to, where you can refer people to, and where you can get your own information from, the better, because we need to break that ignorance part of it. Which is one element that would keep vulnerable people very exposed.
At the start of this, obviously, it was a desperate situation, and people were invited to, offer rooms or what have you. The danger is it that, people saw the pattern there, got in early, and there could be people staying in homes at the moment where they'd be much more open to to being exploited. They're much more vulnerable to that, and it'd be harder maybe to detect.
Absolutely, and we see it all the time. We see it even, in the reviews in terms of foster care families, where there's a huge amount of vetting and assessment of those kind of families, and still people fall through. So you can imagine where there's no vetting, where there's no assessment, where there's no ongoing kind of investigation as to what's happening, that anything could be happening behind closed doors, and it's the same issue we had with domestic violence 10, 15 years ago, where nobody spoke about what happened behind a closed door. We're probably, going to have the same situation here, which is what we want to try and avoid. So, getting people out into community groups, getting them to mix locally or get involved in projects. So at least there's an opening that they can talk about what's happening wherever they're staying.
Yeah, and I think you referenced earlier, Marie, about the urban versus rural. This is not necessarily a city problem. In some ways, the rural makeup of a county like Donegal might, make it easier for people to exploit these people.
It does, actually, and that's where a lot of the escort sites come in, because, we talk about internal trafficking in Ireland, where people, who are trafficked are then moved within locations around Ireland, and it tends to be rural locations, because obviously it's harder for people to catch up with them, it's harder for them to have access to supports and to link into services, and then they move them on quite frequently. So there's no building up of a network or a support structure. So anything that can kind of counteract any of those measures is going to be a great help,
All right, Dr. Marie Hainsworth, as always, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Okay, Dr. Hainsworth there is manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre. Your views on that, 08660 25,000. Right, this caller says, I am a responsible dog owner. I have no problem picking up after the dogs, but the issue is Rathmullen Beach have no dog waste bins, and you would have to carry it for an hour if you're on a walk. This must put people off lifting it. Yeah, I get you, and that's why I kind of wanted to zone in on that with our guest earlier in the hour to find out what kind of an impact not having bins has on this problem. But are these bags, right? Say, for instance, you had something similar to a bag, the reusable bags that you get in a supermarket, and you carried that with you. Could you not put, I think these bags for picking up the poo, you can get them that are scented. Is it not possible to pick up the poo, seal it in that scented bag, and then have another, reusable bag to put it in and carry it? Is that not practical? Pardon my ignorance, by the way, if it isn't, but I would have thought that would be a solution rather than depending on bins to be available, because they have to be emptied too, and you know what happens. They end up getting all filled up. Right, okay. That is the first hour in the bag. Thank you very much. Stay right where you are. Coming up straight after the 10 o'clock news, we will have Community Guard information. Don't forget you can watch the show live. Go onto our website, highlandradio.com. You should see the link there. Back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people. For a greener future for all.
Foy & Company are offering amazing discounts on a great selection of display sofas with up to 50% off a range of 2-seater, 3-seater and corner sofas in a choice of colours and styles. If you're getting a new suite of furniture, don't miss the big display sofa clearance sale on now while stocks last at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet and online at foys.ie.
Thinking about a new car for the July registration? The award-winning Hyundai range includes the innovative and fun-to-drive i10, the i20 with its best-in-class safety features, and the i30 full of all the latest smart tech. There's also the award-winning Kona and the newly designed Tucson, all in stock. Call in and talk to the sales team today at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny, or call 91 22 600.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
This is Highland Radio News at 10 o'clock. I'm Daniel Brennan. The Taoiseach has warned there will be rocky times ahead for fossil fuel prices as a result of new EU sanctions on Russian oil. Last night, the European Council agreed a deal that will cut imports of Russian oil by 90% by the end of the year. Temporary exemptions have been made for pipeline crude oil to allow some countries to wean themselves off more slowly. But Taoiseach Micheál Martin said the move will have impacts for consumers.
It is a watershed moment in terms of fossil fuels in general, which will make for fairly rocky territory over the next number of years in terms of pricing around fossil fuels. We cannot get away from that. But on the other hand, what's clear from the presentation from the President of the Commission is that there's a need to double down on renewables.
A senior government minister says there is no justification for the delays seen recently at Dublin Airport. The government's demanded a plan from the DAA by this morning to ensure there's no repeat of the scenes witnessed on Sunday when 1,000 people missed their flights and thousands of passengers were forced to queue for hours outside of terminal buildings. Up to 100,000 passengers are expected to travel through Dublin Airport over the upcoming June bank holiday weekend. The Finance Minister Pascal Donoghue says the airport has many indicators that allow it to know ahead of time what kind of demands it's facing.
Even if there are things that could be done differently or better to the structure of our aviation sector here in Ireland, it is a sector that has served our country very well in recent years. But nothing can explain or justify what happened over the last number of days. It must, and the government expects that it will improve.
A Donegal councillor has warned that a 2-bedroom home to rent in a rural town in Donegal is now costing up to €950 a month. Speaking at yesterday's Donegal County Council meeting, Councillor Niamh Kennedy called for the council to engage with the owners of the 7,700 derelict and vacant properties in the county to repurpose the houses for much needed and sought after accommodation. Councillor Kennedy says people cannot afford to pay these prices for rent and that something needs to be done to make vacant properties available as accommodation to alleviate the housing crisis in Donegal. Donegal Action for Cancer Care says it has received confirmation that the second breast surgeon post at Letterkenny University Hospital has now been made permanent. The incumbent took up the position in 2017, but it emerged at the time that the position was offered on a temporary basis, and the DACC chair Betty Holmes says since then they've been striving to ensure the position was made permanent. She says as the position was operating on a temporary basis, patients and their advocates had concerns for its future.
Our fear was that a permanent post would be offered elsewhere, and again, what we would have seen was another key element of key services at Letterkenny Hospital being in danger. The ACC initially came together 17 years ago to actually get a breast surgeon for Letterkenny Hospital. So that was the first one, and now we've got our permanent second breast surgeon confirmed.
The ASB is warning people in Donegal against swimming in the Loch Dunluy Reservoir ahead of the bank holiday weekend. They're warning people about the dangers and potentially serious consequences of swimming in any ASB reservoir. They say these areas are not appropriate for swimming because of the risk of deep and fast-flowing waters, changing water levels as well as uneven ground. And finally, members from the travelling community will gather outside the Dáil later to demand a government action plan to tackle high rates of mental health illness and suicide in their community. The Traveller Mental Health Network, which is organising the protest, says it expects hundreds to attend. Studies show the suicide rate amongst travellers is 7 times higher than it is for those in the settled community. Hugh Frail from the Donegal Traveller Project says not enough is being done to support them.
We're having a pandemic within our own community in relation to mental health issues and suicide at this present time. And we're asking the government basically who is accountable, because all these strategic plans and aims and goals in relation to the traveller community to better the well-being and health promotion is not working.
Weather now, a mix of clear spells and cloudy periods this morning with a few isolated showers as well. Cloud will build this afternoon and showers will become a bit more persistent. Highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees today. That's all from the news desk for now. We'll have headlines again coming up at 11 o'clock, but until then, good morning. The obituary notices for Tuesday morning, May the 31st. The death has taken place in Wetherby, West Yorkshire, England, of Celia Feely ní Crossan Glengad Malin. Celia's remains will repose at Liam Collins' funeral premises, Culdaff, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, where you may pay your respects. Removal on Thursday for a family funeral mass at 11 a.m. in the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to St Gemma's Hospice, Moortown, Leeds, England, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Kitty Ward, Longacre, Gordcally, Kerrykeel. Removal from the Eternal Light Funeral Home, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, today at 5 p.m, going to Fanet Presbyterian Church, Kerrykeel, to repose overnight. The church will remain open until 8 p.m. for those who would like to pay their respects. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m, burial afterwards in Milford Presbyterian Cemetery. The death has taken place of John Arthur O'Neill, 32 Duncan Park, Fintona, and formerly of 11 McCrae Park, Drumquin, and Craigban. Remains reposing at his nephew James McGonagall's home, 5 Clockcore Grove, Clockcore, Strabane, today from 2 p.m. Funeral leaving his nephew's home tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. to St Mary's Church, Ohabrack. Requiem Mass on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Mary Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the Donaghadee Parish YouTube page. The death has taken place of Oliver Hart, the Four Winds, Balladurg, Letterkenny, and formerly of Rottenver, County Leitrim. Oliver's remains will be reposing at his late residence today from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. and tomorrow from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:30 a.m, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on facebook.com/Irish Martyrs. Interment afterwards in Newlech Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only, please. Family time, please, in the morning of the funeral. Rosary both nights at 9 p.m. The death has taken place of Helen Martha Rolston, ní McCorkle, Lustalis View, Imlick, Carrigans. Her remains are reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon to Monray Presbyterian Church for service at 2 p.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining burying ground. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if wished to Monray Presbyterian Church Hall Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Kathleen McGinty, Letterhaloo, Clohan. Kathleen's remains are reposing at her home. Removal tomorrow afternoon at 12:15 p.m. for Requiem Mass at 1 o'clock in Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, with interment afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Doreen Brown, Ruski Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 p.m. for 2 o'clock funeral service in St Ninian's Parish Church, Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Society Donegal branch, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director, Convoy. The death has taken place of Con McBride, Largan Ray, Downings. Funeral from his late residence tomorrow, going to the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Anthony Grant, 46 Ballyarton Road, Claudy. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from his home this morning at 10:30 a.m. for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Claudy. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Ewell Blair, 73 Billy Road, Strabane. Ewell's remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from there this afternoon at 12:45 p.m. for 2 o'clock funeral service in Carnone Presbyterian Church, Carnone, Castlefin, followed by burial afterwards in the family plot in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only please. Family time before the funeral today. The death has taken place of Michael Kennedy, Ballybrack, Maville. Michael's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral Mass for Michael will take place this morning at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by private family cremation at a later date. Family time please before the funeral today. Donations in lieu of flowers to the Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Danny McElhinney, Tubin, Burnfoot. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Removal from there this afternoon at 12:15 p.m. to St Mura's Church, Fawn, for Requiem Mass at 1 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Danny's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please before the funeral today. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Cancer Society, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place of Joe Gallagher, Alton, Balladurg, Letterkenny, and formerly of Meanderry, Falcara. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 a.m. in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny. Burial afterwards in Conwall Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Can I get 2 specials, please? 1 sourdough and Caesar salad. And by the way, I'm 12 weeks pregnant.
Yes, Chef! We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated, and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSC. For us all.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
A very good morning to you. Very welcome back to the programme, or you're very welcome along to the programme if you are joining us. Very shortly, we'll be joined in studio by Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson with the Community Garda item, where we'll bring you the latest appeals and information. We'll be going to Ballybuffet, Letterkenny, Lifford, and Letterkenny again. Abbey Park as well, where crimes have been committed and Gardaí are seeking your assistance in solving those crimes. A lot of you texting in. Thanks very much. Good morning again to those of you joining us, watching us on our website and social media. Good morning, Beth, Mel, Audrey, Mary and Kathleen. Good to have you on board. We walked our dog on the beach on Rathmullen, says this listener. We carried our poo bags, but we had to stop because of other dogs being allowed to run free and were taken down to the ground by another dog trying to attack my dog. Okay, so it's even for dog owners, then it can be a difficult experience. Could you highlight the fact that Trusk Loch outside Ballybofey is a place for walking and not for dogs fouling all over the walkway? Dogs should be on leads, sheep in lamb as well. Show a bit of respect for others. Another, hi Greg, was at the beach on Saturday evening. The amount of people pulling up with their dogs and letting them go to the toilet there. Should be no dogs allowed at the beach at any time. Thanks, they say. Hi Greg, roll on tomorrow when the dog ban comes into effect on Dunfanaghy Beach and others. If owners were responsible and had them on leads and cleaned up after them, I wouldn't mind. But as soon as owners hit the beach, they let them loose to bound around and come up to people and scare them. Looking forward to seeing how it will be policed. And I also want to hear from dog owners as well. I understand that people are motivated to text in, and I really appreciate and keep them coming, but also want, you as dog owners to feel that you're being represented as well. I tried a little earlier, but as I say, I just want to make sure we get all views. Hi, my son is allergic to dogs and has to carry an EpiPen with him because of it. I'm sick to the back teeth of dogs off their leads. When you ask their owners, can they put their dog on their leads or keep them away from my son because of the condition, they actually give me a mouthful. My son is more important than any dog and the ignorance of their owners. That's a very specific situation, but a worrying one if you're out and about with your young man. Greg, in relation to waiting in the ED, it is the same for those with cancer. If you become ill at home, you need to go through the ED and wait for hours before being seen to. Surely there should be a direct link to oncology. That's off the back of a first hour text where it was an email, actually, quite a detailed email from a woman, 12 weeks pregnant. She thought she could have been exposed to chickenpox and phoned the hospital. They said, come in, we'll check you out. But instead of going through the front doors by appointment and waiting in a ward to be seen by gynae, the lady had to go into the ED and felt that this was dangerous and she could have been exposed to far more than she feared she could have had. And now we have this comment coming in from a cancer patient along the same lines. This caller though says, I get my bloods done with my GP and I take them to the lab myself. Okay, that's one way of doing it, of course. Now, a few new crossings in Ballybofey. We were talking about this yesterday. And it was quite interesting to see the Gardaí putting up an information post as it relates to the zebra crossings on our streets. And they were talking too about, who has right of way, when you have right of way, how to use them safely. And it was also, quite notably for me anyway, it pointed out that they are identified by flashing orange lights. Now, I just wonder how many of us as pedestrians and motorists are aware of that. I think a lot of people, if you see a black and white crossing, you just presume it to be a zebra crossing, but it's not always the case. And my concern was, and driving through Ballybofey a couple of times, was that you're on a pedestrian feels they've got the right of way, and because there's no lighting at night time, you're on it straight away. And I come across a person who was in dark clothes walking on the dark section of the zebra crossing, and I felt like it was closer than it needed to be. They should be lit up or whatever. Something has to be done in terms of safety. But anyway, this caller is commenting on these new crossings in Ballybofey. They are a pilot scheme by Transport Infrastructure Ireland. There are no lights to be added to it. The pedestrians do not have the right of way regarding them. The purpose of them is to monitor traffic pedestrian behaviour. Let your listeners know that they can only cross at the courtesy of the driver and not to walk out. Yeah, indeed, but I think it's problematic. Particularly in terms of road safety, I don't think we should have to think so much. That would be my concern. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show, as I say. We're going to take a break now for the bingo numbers. I just want to remind you, by the way, if you want to start playing Radio Bingo, you're more than welcome on board. If you're out shopping, you might see your little bingo books at the counter. They're across a load of different businesses, including Kelly's Centre Mountain Top. They sold a book that won €1,400. Blaney's in Kerry Keel, they sold a book that won €1,200. Solo in Carndon, a €1,200 one there. Daily Spa Lifford, another €1,200 there. Warriskis Ramelton, €1,000 prize given to a book purchase there. Sweeney's in Termon, another €1,000. We have a start off of a daily cash prize, €400. Every day it's not one. €200 goes on top of that. And we also have our jackpot of €7,400, which we're playing for this week. And if you want to get involved, you just buy the book. It's a £5 a day. Sorry, it's a £5 a week, €1 a day. Okay, so there is an element of gambling in there. So be careful. Do it for fun. Obviously, do it to support the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, because every euro raised here in Donegal, I'm assured, is spent on services provided by the National Council for the Blind of Ireland in Donegal. So your money's staying local too. All right, back after the numbers then.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 31st of May. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 22. The numbers are 1, 62, 29, 76, 41, 63, 50, 79, 22, and finally 90. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At McGee's.ie, you can create gallery quality art on canvas from your favourite photo, direct from your phone, laptop or PC. Simply upload your favourite picture and have it printed on canvas, transformed into gallery quality art for as little as $44.95. Click and collect or have it delivered to your door ready to hang. Big pics, small prices. At McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny. See McGee's.ie.
AB Plant Exports Group are currently buying all types of excavators, loading shovels and backhoes for export from 3 tonne to 70 tonne. Contact AB Plant Exports Group today and you will receive the very best price across Ireland, north and south. For more information, contact AB Plant Exports Group on 0873 779966.
Escape to the Algarve from the City of Derry Airport with Atlantic Travel this August. Free airport parking is available exclusively when you book with Atlantic. For your stress-free summer holiday on the Algarve, call Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny today on 9126193.
Mega deals now on at Curry's. Save €150 on the Beko American-style fridge freezer with water dispenser, now $829. And get the HP 14-inch laptop with full HD screen, now $639. Save €240. Get in store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, and it is time now for our Community Garda information item, where we are joined by a member of the force, where they seek your assistance in some of their investigations and also give you some useful information and tips to help protect yourself or avoid their attention. So we welcome into studio today Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson. Great to have you in. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
All right, okay, I'm good, thank you. We'll get straight into it. So we'll start with appeals and a burglary at Glenpatrick Place in Ballybofey.
Yes, Greg. So the first incident is in relation to a burglary, as you said, at Glenpatrick Place, Ballybofey. Now, this occurred on Friday, the 27th of May, between 7 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. The residents of the house had left for a short period and returned to discover that the house had been entered and completely ransacked. So it transpired that the house hadn't been locked at the time. But substantial water damage had been caused both upstairs and downstairs, as a toilet and shower unit had been smashed in an upstairs bathroom. Now, a locked bedroom door had been forced open also, and a TV in the downstairs sitting room had been completely smashed. The only item that is believed to have been stolen from the property is a Frizz broadband box. So we just appeal to anybody who observed any suspicious activity in the Glenpatrick area of Ballybuffet between those times, and that's 7 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. on Friday the 27th of May. Just maybe to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100. We're also appealing this morning for any sightings of two males who was wearing dark clothing, and they were in around the Glenpatrick place between those times also.
Okay. Now, there is also an appeal as it relates to an assault at Upper Main Street in Letterkenny.
That's correct, Greg. Gardaí in Letterkenny are investigating an assault that happened at Upper Main Street, Letterkenny, in the early hours of Sunday, the 22nd of May, and that was between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Now, a man reported that he was assaulted by a group of approximately 7 to 8 other men. The man in question required treatment in hospital for the injuries which he sustained, but none of which are believed to be life-threatening. It is believed that a group of people may have gathered at the location as the assault was taking place, and that some of them may have tried to help the man in question. So we just appeal to those people that if they are listening this morning to come forward and to provide us with any information, descriptions or any details that they may have in relation to the incident. And again, it's Letterkenny on 0749167
And of course the confidential line available to people too if they were to choose that means of contact.
That's correct, Greg. So if somebody didn't want to come to the Garda station, or indeed if they didn't want to contact any of the Garda stations, they could contact the confidential line on 1800 666 111, and any information they provide will be forwarded to the investigation team.
Okay. Now, an appeal as it relates to criminal damage in Lifford. In fact, there's 2 instances of criminal damage there.
That's correct. So the first one is in relation to criminal damage that occurred in the area of Cloonlee on the Coneyburr Road on Wednesday, the 25th of May, and that was at approximately 12:20 a.m. Now, Gardaí received a report that a car was on fire at the location. So Gardaí and fire service attended. Now, we're satisfied at this stage that from inquiries conducted that the fire was started deliberately. And while they were at that call, another call was received in relation to a second criminal damage incident, and this occurred on the Coneyburr Road in Lifford, also in around about the same time, 12:20. It is believed that an attempt was made to set a car on fire at a house. Now, the residents of the house noticed that the fire had been lit to the rear of their car, and they immediately contacted the emergency services. So the car was damaged by smoke only. So this morning we're just appealing to anybody who has any information in relation to either of these incidents. As you can see, they happened on the same date in around the same time, to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny. And we'd also appeal to anyone who may be travelling on the Coneyburr Road around that time, who may have dash cam footage, to make that footage available to us. And again, the confidential line is always there if anyone wants to contact that.
You know, and there's a lot going on there. Firstly, you know, obviously setting light to a car, completely unacceptable, but in a residential area, you don't know what the consequences might be. And also, too, tying up the resources of the emergency services, really quite a serious incident.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're keeping an open mind in relation to both investigations. However, they happened in close proximity to each other in around the same time. So if anyone has any information, absolutely, it will help us with our inquiries.
Okay. Now, criminal damage as it relates to Paddy Hart Road, is that correct? Yeah.
That's correct, and Gardaí once again in Letterkenny are appealing for witnesses this morning in relation to a criminal damage incident that occurred in the car park at Letterkenny Retail Park on the Paddy Hart Road on Saturday the 28th of May between 8 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. So a concrete block was thrown at a windscreen of a parked car at that location, and the glass was smashed as a result. So if anybody witnessed the incident, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí, and I suppose from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. it's quite significant time frame. You could have people maybe parking up going to work, maybe going into some of the retail units. They may have witnessed the incident. They may have witnessed maybe somebody acting suspicious prior to maybe conducting this particular attack, and we just ask them maybe just to come forward if they have any information.
Something looked out of place, let the Gardaí figure out if it's connected or not.
That's it. And again, sorry,
yep,
Greg, just cars that are parked sometimes have dash cam. It's not that, if a car is moving that it's always recording. Sometimes they're on motion sensors, so somebody could have been maybe parked, maybe working in one of the retail units. And again, if they're listening to the programme this morning and they do have footage, they may not be aware maybe if it captured it or not, but just make us aware of it, and we could have somebody download that footage and have a look at it.
And it's not just in Donegal, of course, it's nationally. It has become an important part of appeals because so many people now have dash cams, and they've obviously proved useful in investigations. It's just a part of modern life now, and modern vehicles often have them, and they're clearly very useful as an investigation tool.
Absolutely, and as you can see this morning in, I suppose, every one of our appeals, it's something that we now ask for. And again, look, just some small piece of information. It could be, we may have a description, we may have information in relation to an incident that we're not always, in a position to provide. We'll just do a generic appeal, and then somebody could provide dashcam footage, and the next thing it will link in with our investigation and what we have been looking for.
Could be the final piece of a jigsaw, for example.
That's it.
Right, and in terms of how that's gotten off, I presume the sooner someone gets in contact with you, better. I imagine they purge as they go, do they? I'm not quite sure. Some of them might have external storage, but it's not limitless. So there is going to be a purging of video footage, audio footage, whatever it might be. And in terms of it being taken off the device, the Gardaí do that, don't they?
They do, yeah. There's 2 trained members in Letterkenny Station, and they look after the Letterkenny area. We have members in Buncrana and there's members in Donegal Town. Like every, I suppose, dash cam is different because there's all different makes and models. Some will last for a week, the footage. Some may last for 3 months. Some may last for only 3 days. And then it just kind of automatically maybe records
Overrides,
what has been recorded. So probably the sooner the better.
Yeah, I get you.
If somebody is aware that they have footage, just to contact us, and don't worry about downloading the footage themselves. If they make us aware of it, we can sort that out for them.
Right, okay. Now, an appeal as it relates to criminal damage in Manor Cunningham this time.
That's right. So on Sunday the 29th, Gardaí received a call to Abbey Park in Manor Cunningham, where it was reported that a criminal damage incident had occurred in around 1:10 p.m. Now, a man who was travelling on a scrambler, possibly yellow in colour, pulled up alongside a parked car and proceeded to smash all the windows of the car, and he also smashed a headlight. Now, the man was wearing a cap, a grey hoodie, combat-style trousers, they're possibly work trousers, and boots. So we'd appeal to anyone who may have witnessed the incident or who may have any information in relation to that incident. And again, this is another residential area. It happened on Sunday. People may be at home, might have family over. If anybody, as I said, witnessed the incident and has any information in relation to it, even the likes of a direction travel, anything like that can be helpful. We'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100.
Okay. In Ramelton now, it's an interesting one. It's an RTC that seemingly turned into the theft of a vehicle. But what's the details here?
So Gardaí in Milford received a report that a road traffic collision had occurred on Sunday the 29th of May shortly after 9:15am at McAdoo's Corner, Faunanohan in Ramelton. Now, a car had veered off the road and ended up on its roof in a field at that location. The car is believed to have been travelling in the direction of Milford from Ramelton at the time. So it's believed that 2 males fled the scene on foot from the crashed vehicle, and it was later discovered that the car in question, which was a red Peugeot 308, registration number 08WW318, had been stolen from an address at Columkill Close in Kerrykiel at some stage overnight, possibly from midnight to the time of the crash, which was in around 9:15am. So we'd appeal to anyone who may have observed suspicious activity, first of all in the Columkill Close area of Kerrykiel overnight, or I suppose anyone who may have been travelling on the road during the night and may have observed that vehicle 08WW3318, as I said, was a red Peugeot 308, or indeed anyone who may have been travelling, I suppose, from Ramelton to Milford, may have observed 2 males, maybe walking along the road, or maybe stopped and gave them a lift, or may have just seen them maybe emerging from the field
Picked
after
them up
the
in
collision.
a taxi or whatever it might be.
A taxi, maybe just somebody travelling along the road, good Samaritan, gave someone a lift, those kind of things. Any information at all in relation to this particular incident, we'd be delighted to hear from them.
Okay, so we are heading into the June bank holiday weekend. We know, statistically, unfortunately, that these holiday weekends, it's a more dangerous time to be on the roads, and obviously the Gardaí are going to react to that, and they are doing so again this coming weekend. So what's your advice to people?
So that's correct, Greg. So this upcoming June bank holiday weekend, Gardaí across Donegal will conduct high visibility checkpoints, speed checks and patrols. I suppose our focus will be on the detection of key lifesaver offences, which include speeding, drink and drug driving, non-wearing of seatbelts and driving whilst using or holding a mobile phone. So we're just asking people to slow down and ensure that you remain within the legal speed limit at all times, that you never drive whilst under the influence of alcohol and drugs, and if you do, you'll risk your own life and the life of others. Also, to ensure that you and your passengers are wearing your seatbelt and not to use your mobile phone whilst driving. I suppose, look, our priority is always to keep people safe, so please make responsible decisions this bank holiday weekend in relation to road safety and help save lives on the road.
Yep, okay. Finally, Inishowen Pride Parade. Tell us about that.
That's correct, Greg. This is happening on Sunday the 5th of June at 3 o'clock in Buncrana, and I understand that it's the first Inishowen Pride, but I believe it's the first Pride Parade we've had in Donegal.
I believe so, yeah.
Which is quite significant. So yes, there'll be traffic diversions will be in place in the town centre from 2:30pm till approximately 5:30pm. All the information will be on the Garda Facebook page, and there'll be diversion signs, and Gardaí will be present in around the town. Look, we look forward to welcoming everyone to Buncrana, and I know the committee members are very excited about the whole event. I suppose whether you're a spectator, a participant, or even if you're just an ally coming there to support somebody involved in the event, we would encourage everyone to come and enjoy the event. As I said, it's the first ever time something like this has taken place, and I suppose this year it's happening in Buncrana, and we're delighted to be associated with the event as well. Okay,
brilliant stuff. A caller just messaged, and you might have an answer to this one, please, if you don't mind. Could you ask the Garda, Sergeant Charlene Anderson, if you saw an incident taking place, are you allowed to take footage on your mobile phone as evidence?
Okay, well, I suppose what I would say to that is there's no actual legislation in place that prohibits you from doing so, okay? However, if an incident occurred, just for instance, we'll say an assault and a serious road traffic collision, we're looking to gather all information and all possible footage and all those things. Now, there is case law in relation to that for us to gather all available footage. So we would be going looking for the likes of the footage on your mobile phone. Now, if it was you, Greg, and I was aware that you had footage on your phone and I looked for that footage and you didn't want to give it to me, well, then there is law and legislation there that covers that I would have to seize your phone. So it's just to be careful and be mindful of that. And I suppose there's nothing there to prohibit you from doing so, but in the event that something that you recorded could be used as evidence and you didn't want to part with your phone, then we do have the power to seize that phone and seize the footage on it.
Okay, so, all right. Listen, thank you for that. I appreciate it. That was Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson, and that was the Community Garda information item for another Tuesday. It will be back with you after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday. And we'll be back with more on this programme today after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €25 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The Kia Sportage, Donegal's best-selling car for 2022. If you're thinking about making the move to Kia or to upgrade your current Kia, make sure to call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin. With a 7-year warranty as standard, driving a Kia makes sense.
Hi guys, David James here, and we're asking you to push back the kitchen table, dust off your dancing shoes, and join us for our Jive for June campaign, all in aid of the Donegal Hospice. Tune in to the Jive Time show from 2:30pm for your daily Jive. Video your Jive and send it to the Donegal Hospice at gmail.com, and they will post it on their socials, and we will also be posting your Jives on our social media channels too. To register and donate, log on to donegalhospice.ie or contact Isabel on 912565 or 087 238 9607 for a sponsorship form.
Every time you support local business, you're creating local jobs and vibrant towns and communities for future generations. Let's champion green, and together we rise. Champion Green is supported by Kilkenny Design and Visa in association with Retail Excellence, Small Firms Association and Chambers Ireland. championgreen.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. The lines remain open for you, of course, to get involved in the conversation. 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000. Pat joins us now. Hiya, Pat.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing good. Right, we're talking about, I suppose, the relationship between drivers and pedestrians. So what's your experience, Pat?
It was last Friday, and it's usual for me, unfortunately. At that crossing, the zebra crossing there going towards Ora swimming pool, trying to cross there is a nightmare because drivers don't see me or don't see the zebra crossing, and so I have to wait to find somebody that will actually see me.
Is this the crossing that you kind of come round a corner and next thing you're on the crossing, Pat? Are we on about the same one?
You know the Ora?
Yes.
Building? And so coming from town and going towards the Ora.
Now, you're not necessarily blaming motorists. You accept that they can't often see you.
There's a zebra crossing.
Yeah.
It's a white and black one. And it's so if they're looking down the ground and they see me, then it's obvious that that zebra crossing see a person, and it's obvious that I'm looking looking at the zebra crossing and looking at the car.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that they see somebody who's wanting to cross the zebra crossing. Now, I don't know whether people are aware there's a zebra crossing there, which there is, and I don't know if the council needs to polish it up, but I'm unsure, because one of the thankfully it was the lorry driver that stopped, whilst the other cars seemed to continue on the other side, and it was just it was last Friday, and it was happened before, that myself going for a swim, I decided I'd walk from the old Duns up to the swimming pool, and so crossing the road at that zebra crossing, I find it awful challenging, and because I've got MS and epilepsy, it adds to the factor that I can't stay static and stop and start there at the junction.
Mm-hmm.
If drivers could just be aware that there's a person there and there's a zebra crossing there, and to guess that the reason why that person's there is the zebra crossing.
Yes, and also be conscious of the fact that not everyone can sprint across the road either.
100% correct. The last day, Greg, it's the first time ever, because my physicists were saying that to use a crutch, and it's the first time ever I said I'll bring a crutch with me, and it's actually whether they didn't see that I was there, or didn't see I had a crutch with me, that they just ignored it, and that's the difficulty for me, Greg. It means that I have to sort of get transport to the swimming pool.
And the way the zebra crossing works, really, you don't have right of way until the cars slow down to a halt, and then when you step on the zebra crossing, you have right of way there. So you are at the whim of the drivers there. If they're not stopping, you're stuck.
Correct. And yeah, because it's that's the legislation for sure. But so it's that you're trying to tiptoe towards the zebra crossing, and it's chicken and egg. Which goes first? And so it's for first of all, Greg, a lot of drivers are excellent, but it just so happens that some drivers are unaware of that zebra crossing.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, from your experience, Pat, do you believe that there is a lack of respect for the zebra crossing by drivers, or do you think that they don't see it? It's not clearly notified enough to drivers. What do you think the problem is there, or maybe it's a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, because there's at least 30, 40 cars that passed by before somebody saw me, and I'm about 6 foot, and they're at that zebra crossing junction, and so the question is, is it just that it's normal for them just to ignore that zebra crossing, or was it that they had something else in their mind?
Yeah. Okay, because I think sometimes, if we don't get these type of things right, they can cause more damage than, what was there before. Because, as I said before, obviously as pedestrians, we always have to be careful. But a zebra crossing, it can give you a sense of security that may not be there in this case.
Yeah, correct. And it was funny because myself and my friend were there. What we do is we have to, because I've been messed, I have to guess the distance of the car that's coming to me, the speed at which it's coming to me, and knowing full well there might be a possibility that car wouldn't stop at all. Because the epilepsy as well, it's about with my brain taking all this information in, can be a challenge.
And I mean, are you prepared to roll those dice, or do you try and avoid then using the zebra crossing, Pat?
I say coming back the way I would attempt it, but from last Friday it's getting more and more dangerous for me.
Okay. Right, okay, listen, Pat, thanks for sharing your story. We'll throw it out to our other listeners and even, drivers, maybe they have an opinion on the lines of sight and what have you on the approach to this zebra crossing, if they're familiar with it, if they're travelling in this area. Thank you for joining us, Pat. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
And finally, Greg, just one thing, if you just can give us a chance.
Give the protection, and also not presume, as I said earlier on, Pat, not presume that everyone, once they see that gap, can fly across the road. Those pedestrian crossings are also for those who maybe can't move as quickly, or they might be a little bit older, or they might have a buggy with them, or they could be a wheelchair user. There's lots and lots of different people with different ranges of ability using these crossings.
Yep. Thank you for your time, Greg.
No, it's our pleasure. Thanks for taking the call, Pat. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling us. Have you an experience of that or a view? You know the numbers. Get in touch with us and get your point of view out there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Is your bank charging you negative interest for holding company money? At John F. Lowry Financial Services, we can secure not only positive but competitive interest rates on a 5-year fixed deposit for corporate clients. Alternatively, it could be a great time to invest in markets, and we offer ways for companies to do just that. If you prefer to limit downside risk, we do offer products with a partial capital guarantee. Surely that's worth considering. Call John F. Lowry Financial Services on 91240002 and find out how our company can help your company. John F. Lowry and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowry Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions may apply.
Inish Tractor Run Sunday 5th of June. A charity auction plus barbecue on the spit. There's live music from 6 p.m. with Jimmy Buckley, Jim Devine, Liam McDermott and Shuni Crampsey. Proceeds to Cancer Care West and Donegal Hospice. That's Sunday 5th of June. Inish Tractor Run with live entertainment in the Marquee Malin Stables.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to beautiful Mallorca every Friday this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best beaches. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
A mix of clear spells and cloudy periods this morning with a few isolated showers too. A little more cloud will build this afternoon and the showers will become more persistent for a time this afternoon and into the evening. Light northerly breezes, highest temperatures today of 13 to 15 degrees. Right, okay. Sebastian Barnes is chairman of the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council. Good morning to you, Sebastian. Thanks so much for taking the call today.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. Right, now, you are warning the government that it faces a delicate balancing act, managing high inflation, protecting poorer households and delivering major policies. And also, you have been commenting again, it's quite consistent from the council, our over-reliance on corporation taxes and as much really as it relates to how we're spending that money, Sebastian.
Yeah, so coming to the corporation tax, it's amazing. So last year, 1 in 5 euros of exchequer revenue was coming from corporation tax. We know that about half of that is paid by a handful of really big multinational companies. And the thing is, we're basically spending that money on health, on education, on all the other things that the government does. And that means we're very vulnerable, because if some of those companies were to change their strategies, were to take their money out of Ireland, we'd end up with a significant hole in the public finances, and that would be very difficult to manage. So what we're saying is the government should gradually reduce our reliance on that money, even if it's coming in, but by putting it in the rainy day fund or using it to pay down debt. So if there wasn't a sudden adjustment, we wouldn't be hit so badly.
Yeah, and that's the equivalent to me, is it getting a 25-year mortgage on a 1-year contracted job? It's basically like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really that problem. Now, it may well be that this money comes in at a higher rate. We might even get more revenue from it in the years ahead. But the problem is we are dependent on it, as you say, for our day-to-day spending, and it's something we don't have a lot of control over. And so if decisions were taken, if things were to change, we could find ourselves really with quite a significant gap in the public finances, and that would be really, really challenging for the government to manage. So we're saying we should reduce our reliance now when we have some control over it. if we do it gradually, it's not actually going to kind of make that much of a difference on a day-to-day basis, but it will mean that we're less exposed if that shock was to take place.
Yeah, and obviously there are pressures on government to spend in terms of social welfare, because the increased cost of living. There are the public sector pay, sláinte care, even the Micah redress scheme. There are lots of places to spend money. We have to be shrewd and balanced in how we spend that money then.
I think government, I think, is always very difficult because you have to make these choices. And we have both some long-term things that aren't factored into the government's plan. Climate change is going to be very costly, but the government hasn't actually told us how much it thinks it's going to cost. There's implementation of sláinte care. The ageing population is every year costing us more as more people reach retirement age and people live longer. And of course, there's all sorts of pressures. You mentioned Micah. There's also increased defence spending might be coming up in the light of the war in Ukraine. So there's always a lot of choices the government has to make about the long term, which is why long-term planning. And on top of that, right now, we have this inflation pressure, right? We're all aware of how much the cost of living is increasing, and that's going to lead to big pressures on government spending, basically to upgrade, to adjust wages, pensions, welfare rates. And there the government is going to have to strike a very difficult balance between protecting the economy, particularly protecting the most vulnerable lower-income households, but they're not putting too much money into the economy at a time when inflation is high or encouraging everyone to raise their wages by too much. The government can't compensate everyone for what's happening. So they're going to need to use that money wisely to help those who are really hard hit.
And it's kind of a strange one, isn't it? Because the same companies that we're talking of, could offer Ireland some protection if there were a global recession.
Exactly. So Ireland's actually been surprisingly resilient during the pandemic, and that's partly because of all the money the government was able to put in temporary supports because the public finances were in good shape going into it. But it's actually been supported in a deeper sense by the fact these multinational companies are paying both corporation tax in Ireland, but they're also creating a lot of high-pay, high-tax jobs, and that sort of benefits everyone and that means we're very vulnerable, because if some of those companies were to change their strategies, were to take their money out of Ireland, we'd end up with a significant hole in the public finances, and that would be very difficult to manage.
It's selling that likelihood, though, isn't it? Because at the moment we're doing okay. I mean, is it possible the government might say, well, that's what the council thinks, but we think that this income is long term, and we're going to act and spend accordingly? Okay, we've lost that line to Sebastian there. We appreciate his time nonetheless. We got the nuts and bolts of the situation there. No, that's the chair of the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council, Sebastian Barnes. He says targeted measures are needed to ensure any economic recovery is beneficial to everyone. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts to that number, or call 074 91 25,000. A caller says you have to have flashing lights at a zebra crossing for it to be a zebra crossing, so that's why motorists are driving on through. But pedestrians then think they have the right of way. The council needs to install flashing lights to make a zebra crossing. It's the TAI on certain roads. I get that, right? But the fact that we've been having this conversation off and on now for a couple of weeks, whereby it's, no, well, there has to be flashing lights. No, there doesn't. Well, it's a zebra crossing. No, it's not. It's just a crossing. We, as I said, I think it was in a conversation a couple of weeks ago, we're not guinea pigs. This is road safety. We can't do tests and studies to see if, maybe less safe systems actually work. You know what I mean? If it looks like a zebra crossing, especially for young people, try and explain to them, well, if it's not got a flashing light, it's not a zebra crossing. I think it's too complicated. I don't want to sound like I've got a hobby horse on this one, but it just it should be much simpler. We shouldn't be able to have these debates because it should be, no pun intended again, black and white. This texter says, what do TII mean by the zebra crossings being experimental? Does this mean they're going to monitor how many pedestrians are killed or injured in order to gauge their effectiveness? How can you dupe pedestrians into a sense that they can safely cross the street and tell them that the crossing has no legal effectiveness? Only in Ireland could someone come up with such a harebrained idea. That kind of sums up that text, and thank you for it. My feelings a little bit there. I've seen dog walked. This caller says, I've seen dogs walked late evening or early morning messing an area on the way. They think no one sees them. Please, can we have a sign put up? They might read it. Okay, so maybe people using the cover of early morning or the darkness of night to not pick up their dog's poop. but that someone will happen upon on that the next morning. Hi, Greg. Just to follow up on yesterday's discussion about hotel and hospital stays, some hotels have reinstated concessionary rates with proof of an appointment. However, it is still out of reach for most people. Without concession, bed only for one night was $316. It was reduced to $289, and if you want breakfast, it's an extra €20. Yeah, it's a concession, but hey, $289 for one stay. That is huge. Right, okay. Betty Holmes, Donegal Action for Cancer Care, joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Betty.
Good morning, Greg.
Tell me, what is the significance of the second breast surgeon post at LUH being made a permanent one?
Well, when it was announced I'm doing it from memory, January 2016, that we would get a second permanent breast surgeon, we were absolutely delighted because we, as you know, the ACC initially came together 17 years past in April there to get our first breast surgeon. So this was great news, but DACC was following up on it, and we discovered that the post wasn't a permanent one, that the breast surgeon was actually a locum position. And the reality is that if we don't get that second breast surgeon post approved, there is a high danger that if another post, a permanent post, was advertised elsewhere, nobody could fault the person for actually applying for it and getting it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, again, we are in danger of having, I suppose, another key appointment and position at Letterkenny Hospital in danger of not happening.
Has that danger been averted now, though, with this
it
post?
Has.
It has, okay.
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Because we have sat so tightly on it, Greg, and, we don't shout all the time because it doesn't always help, to be sort of dragging up the negatives all the time, because we have to remember always the breast cancer patients or all the cancer patients, their families and all the sick people, But it's been a long journey. So, yes, the second breast surgeon post has now, that contract has been signed, and the post is now a permanent one at Letterkenny Hospital.
And what that means really, it doesn't change anything as such other than removes any concerns that this position could be lost.
Absolutely, without a doubt. The second breast surgeon will continue to do the work that he has been doing at an excellent standard, and we're delighted. Now, the threat or the danger that he may leave has been removed. If he decides to leave, it'll be his own personal choice. It won't be the fact that he doesn't have a permanent post at Letterkenny University Hospital.
Yeah.
And this is a really good news story, Greg, because we have concerns about so many other things happening at the hospital. And, they are serious concerns. But the good news shouldn't get lost, and this
100%.
is a good news story.
Yeah, it took 5 years, though. But listen, you'll take the wins when you get them. But, I mean,
Yes.
this person was a locum, effectively, for 5 years. We were lucky to retain them until such time as that position was made permanent.
Absolutely, Greg, because there's been so many letters, emails, meetings over those years. And, at one time we were actually told, well, he's not a breast surgeon, he's a general surgeon. I mean, the discussions that went on was, but the reality is it's the second permanent breast surgeon at Letterkenny University Hospital, and it's a good news story. And we're absolutely delighted that we kept, as we always do, our finger on the ball. It hasn't been easy, but we're celebrating the fact that it's now a permanent post, and this is good news for Letterkenny University Hospital, but more importantly, for the patients who actually need that service. Yeah,
and the maintaining of that service. We don't want to see any services being lost, going backwards. And having one permanent breast surgeon, one locum, we could have been in a situation where maybe that could be used as an excuse or something. So that's, it's a case now of retaining and improving what we have.
Yeah, because, Greg, the more that the word locum was brought up to us, the more fear and the shivers sort of go down your spine, because you're wondering what's going on behind doors, closed doors, what are we not being privy to? And we're very good at reading documents and letters and all the rest of it, and we're able to actually read behind what's been said. And the more clear statements were coming out, it doesn't give you any comfort. But now it's a permanent post, it's a good news story. It doesn't take away from the other serious issues and concerns that we all have regarding Letterkenny University Hospital. But this is good news for Letterkenny University Hospital, and as I said a minute ago, more importantly, for the patients who need it.
All right, thanks for sharing it with us, Betty.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Amelia.
it. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
day. Take care of yourself. A couple of announcements. Motorists are informed that traffic management will be in place at the Pierce Road Justice Walsh Junction in Letterkenny from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. today. It's to facilitate the installation of traffic loops and traffic lights. Motorists are advised to use alternative routes during these times, and the council is apologising for any inconvenience this may cause you. And more traffic announcements for Letterkenny. This, is it today and tomorrow? It's the 2nd of June, 31st of May. Okay, this runs until Tuesday the 2nd of June. Motorists are informed that traffic management will be in place on Neil T. Blaney Road, the Joe Boner Road Junction in Letterkenny from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 31st of May to Thursday the 2nd of June. My apologies. To facilitate the installation of traffic loops and traffic lights, Joe Boner Road will be blocked during part of the time. Therefore, diversion signs form part of the traffic management. Motorists are advised to use alternative routes during these times. Donegal County Council again apologises for any inconvenience which this may cause. Okay, so that's your traffic and travel. All right, back with the news in a moment.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
If you fancy a lunch today in relaxed surroundings, at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny, you're spoiled for choice. With everything from a renowned all-day breakfast to something lighter like a chicken wrap or soup and a sandwich of your choice. Lunch specials from just $6.50 are served every Monday to Thursday from 12 to 3, and a full a la carte menu is served all day at Kelly's award-winning diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The government is supporting Ireland's transition to electric vehicles. €100 million will be invested in EV charging infrastructure over the next 3 years. But first, we want to hear your views. To take part in the Department of Transport's public consultation today, simply visit gov.ie/EV consultation. That's gov.ie/EV consultation.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Good morning, it is 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update, and we say good morning to Daniel Brennan.
Morning, Greg. Gardaí and Letterkenny are investigating an assault that happened in the town. They say it happened in the early hours of Sunday the 22nd of May, between the hours of 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock at Upper Main Street in the town. A man reported to Gardaí he was assaulted by a group of 7 or 8 men at Upper Main Street, with the man in question requiring hospital treatment for his injuries, none of which were believed to be life-threatening. Gardaí believe a group of people may have gathered at the location as the assault happened and tried to help the man. Anyone with any information is being asked to contact Letterkenny Garda Station. Gardaí are also appealing for information after a burglary at a house last Friday night in Ballybuffet. The incident occurred at a house at Glenpatrick Place between 7 and 7:45 p.m. that evening, with substantial damage being reported. Gardaí say the resident of the house had left for a short period and returned to discover that the house had been entered and ransacked. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who observed any suspicious activity in the area of Glenpatrick Place or had a dash cam and was travelling on the Donegal Road in Ballybuffet between 7 and 7:45 last Friday night to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny. The Taoiseach has warned there will be rocky times ahead for fossil fuel prices as a result of new EU sanctions on Russian oil. Last night, the European Council agreed a deal that will cut imports of Russian oil by 90% by the end of the year. Temporary exemptions have been made for pipeline crude oil to allow some countries to wean themselves off more slowly. But today the Taoiseach said the move will have impacts for consumers' fuel prices. A senior government minister says there's no justification for the delays seen recently at Dublin Airport. The government has demanded a plan from DAA today to ensure there's no repeat of the scenes witnessed on Sunday, when 1,000 people missed their flights and thousands of passengers were forced to queue for hours outside the terminal buildings. Over 100,000 people are expected to travel through Dublin Airport this upcoming June bank holiday weekend. And finally, a Donegal councillor has warned that a 2-bedroom home to rent in a rural town in Donegal now can cost up to €950 a month. Speaking at yesterday's Donegal County Council meeting, Councillor Niamh Kennelly called for the council to engage with the owners of the almost 8,000 derelict and vacant properties in the county to repurpose them for much needed and sought after accommodation. That's all from the news desk for now. We'll have another news update coming up at midday, but until then, good morning.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much indeed.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
Okay, you're welcome back. We're joined on the programme now by Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, who is Sinn Féin's spokesperson on fisheries and the marine. Good morning to you, Padraig. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
And also with us, sitting beside Deputy McLaughlin, is fisherman Jared Kelly. Hi, Jared.
Hi, good morning, Greg, and good morning to all your listeners. Donegal.
It's good to have you with us. Now, both of you are part of a delegation of the fishing industry and fishing communities in Brussels to make the case for Ireland's fishing fleet to be allocated a fair share of fish in Irish waters. Ireland is allocated an estimated 15% of fish in Ireland's exclusive economic zone. From a fisher's perspective, Jared, what does that mean, or how does it make you feel?
It means shrinking opportunities. It means death on the vine if it continues. And thankfully, Sinn Féin have listened to the voices of fishermen and fishing communities. They've enabled us to get out here, communities from all around Ireland, to get out here today and meet the people who are making the decisions, and so they can hear our story firsthand. There's no filter. We had that meeting earlier on this morning with the Director General. She took great interest. She understands communal needs. She understands the difficulties that Irish fishermen and their communities have suffered as a result of particularly Brexit, but maybe the long-term inequalities of the common fishery policy. We are looking for some flexibility in the common fishery policy where we can use quotas and opportunities that other countries have in our waters. So we're going to explore that. They will explore anything possible that we can put to them, and they're hoping to come to Ireland in the near future to see us to bring this discussion a bit further and see how we can help save our coastal communities.
And do you think that will happen? Because, of course, you know, it's easy for them to have a listening, sympathetic ear, but they're part of, a lot of these people are part of the negotiations. They're batting for their countries. You know, they're aware that Irish fishers are being squeezed out of their own waters. I mean, none of this is news to them, surely, Jared. They know what's going on, and you know, they're prepared to throw us under the bus.
Yeah, but I would say in fairness, and being someone who's advocated for fishing and fisheries for quite some time, I was taken by their empathy, their understanding of issues presented to them in a way where fishermen and processors presented their issues rather than elected officials, or for that matter, our department officials. We definitely know that our department officials have not served us in any way well over the years. And the Director General thought it was a breath of fresh air to speak to people directly.
Deputy McLaughlin, you know, we hope we're part of a union that's fair, you know, that it's fair to all. Whatever you could say about this whole situation, it's not fair. It's simply not fair that an industry that, you know, that's part of our community, our culture, our income as a country, you know, the share that Irish fishers get is simply not fair.
Absolutely. I thought it was powerful
to see 6 national organisations representing fishermen and fish producers, fish processors, and then you had 2 co-ops, one from Foyle in North Donegal and one from Galway and Iron. But the leaders, as I would say it really, of fishing communities across Ireland, speaking directly to the very top person in the commission who deals with fisheries and the marine. It was a very frank and honest and open exchange. Definitely they are aware now more than ever of the real issues. But what we need is fairness, Greg, and we emphasise again and again, this is a natural resource of the Irish people. We're seeing more and more vessels being decommissioned over the years, and we need to reverse that. We just want fairness. I also have to commend the organisations. This is their delegation, and they had solutions that were practical. It doesn't require a full negotiation of the common fisheries policy with all the member states and all of that entailed. So I am hopeful that over the period ahead, when she comes to Ireland too, the Director General, that we can start to just turn this around and start to get fairness, Greg, as you've asked.
I mean, at this point, we are almost looking for crumbs off the table in that, if European countries are given quota in Irish waters and don't use that quota, at least let us use that up. I mean, that that's the starting point here. I'll put that to you, Jared.
Yeah, that's one of our solutions we offer today. We have found unused fishing opportunities, and those unused fishing opportunities could be availed of by the Irish fishing vessels. Ironically, these opportunities are for Irish resources and Irish waters, and if someone else isn't going to use them, then the first call should be on the Irish vessels. Now, there is a policy within the EU called maximum sustainable yield. It sounds beautiful, and but the thing is, if the quotas and if the stocks have reached a sustainable level and then they're not being fished to the full amount, in fairness, then we're actually not fishing at maximum sustainable yield. We're letting them wither on the vine. And so that's justification for the Irish vessels to use those opportunities to bring wealth to our own coastal communities.
Some might say that, I'll set it up that in any union there's give and take. There's give and take in certain industries, there's give and take in whatever it might be, and that it's been decided that really our give is certainly our fishing industry and arguably agriculture. And that within the EU maybe they don't have a future in Ireland. Do you feel that people could be justified in feeling that, and can that be reversed?
I'll let Porrick answer that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the common fisheries policy, Greg, you have the pillars of the environment, you have the economic, social pillars. This is about, they say, about resilience and strength in coastal communities. And the truth of it is, if you look at, the policy of, major corporations, be they Dutch or Spanish, buying up quota from other member states, you see the huge super trawlers that are out of our own waters, vacuuming up the fish, while at the same time you're preaching all of these values to fishing communities in Ireland. So people can see that there's contradictions, and there was a frank exchange in that today. But the thing for me is that what's been asked of us in terms of our fishing communities is unfair, unjust. Yes, we want to be part of the European Union. Yes, we want to avail of the market of 500 million people, but you shouldn't destroy fishing coastal communities in return for that. And that's the point we're making, is that's why the solutions and proposals from the fishermen, and she said this, Charlena Vacheva, the Director General, they were pragmatic, they were reasonable, and I think they need to be just now probe through to see, can we start to turn this around?
Other than these proposals, which, aren't going to fix everything, I presume, Minister Charlie McConalogue would say he's arguing, morning, noon and night for Ireland to get a better share of its own resources. And let's take him at his word, he is doing that, but for those within the industry, what we're getting is not enough. What could be done different? As I say, there are some proposals here that would see, a better situation for some fishermen. But what could Ireland be doing? How can we strengthen our negotiations, Jared, to make that argument? Because as I say, Charlie McConnell will say he's doing all he can. What could we be doing differently then?
We'll give you one example. One of the suggestions again from the Director General was, some diversification, and obviously diversification from fisheries and staying in that same area is aquaculture. So, in fairness, I'm an aquaculture person. I tried to get to a meeting recently where I reckoned I could increase the aquaculture production in Ireland by 40 million. Charlie McConnell failed to facilitate me attending that meeting, so I don't know what he's doing at the European level, but I do know what he's doing at a local level, and it isn't helping our industry. Unfortunately, I think Charlie has become an apologist for the department and representing the department amongst the people rather than the people amongst the department. And would even go a stage further than say, as regards Europe, all we get from Charlie is the story that what Europe wants, and I don't know how often Charlie brings to Europe what we want.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the minister's not here to defend himself, and I'm sure he would say that's simply not the case.
By all means, facilitate it and bring him on, and we'll have a good frank discussion with him if he likes.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen, we're always open to that. I mean, do you think that's a fair criticism, Patrick? I mean, you know how politics works. You know the give and take. You know the ins and outs. You know what your party is going to have to be contending with when you're in government, and it's going to be much more difficult for the likes of yourself to do interviews like this because you're going to be faced with the reality of working within a system that might not always facilitate everything you want to achieve. So are those type of criticisms of Minister McConnell, I mean, they're fair because that's what Gerard thinks. I'm not speaking about you, Gerard. I don't want you to think that. But I mean, does the system allow what Gerard's looking for, what the industry's looking for?
Like the fishermen all across, and I deal with fishermen not just in my home county Donegal, but right around the coast, and they do feel disillusioned with their own Department of the Marine. They call it the Department Against the Marine, and there's a deep anger about how poorly they're represented, and that's why the power of bringing the fishing delegation directly to the top person was what this was all about, and you could see the impact that made today. I mean, I think the issue with Charlie McConnell is if you look at Patrick Hope Gallagher, Greg, he was the Fianna Fáil spokesperson on the Marine, and it would be seen that he was a strong spokesperson, and he would have taken a strong position in the last government and challenging them, holding them account. For example, he was the person who got the penalty points annulled, which was the first time in the history of the state that happened. So he was strong. And then all the things that Charlie would have supported Patrick Hope on, it was very quick to see some of the reversal. So I think the issue, if I might volunteer to, and I've said this to Charlie McConnell, our minister, is he needs to listen to the immense resource he has in this county, unbelievable intelligence, knowledge of the issues, work with them. And all people are asking for, and it's not personal because, he's a nice person, is to go out and fight the good fight. Just fight, try. And like I've said, if I were in that position, just fight, do your best. You might not succeed, right? It's a huge challenge with all the member states. But like what the guys have done here today, there are proposals that would make a difference and start to turn this around. So I think that's the challenge, is to work with the fishing community, stand up to his own department, the marine officials who have been failing us for so long, stand up to them, and then just fight the good fight. That's all people are asking.
Jared, the clock's ticking on this, isn't it? The damage has been happening for years now. Speaking to people within the industry, it's an aging workforce. Younger people aren't seeing it as an option, or there's simply not work for them to do. So if there are to be positive changes, the sooner it happens, the better.
Yeah, time is of the essence. I mean, I've got a young family, well, not young anymore, but I've got family that would like to go into industry. And the first thing they have to do now at the moment would have to sign up on an offenders list as a result of legislation Charlie brought in, the Register of Masters. So it's very hard to ask some of your family, say, sign up and be a possible offender to take the fishing boat out. It's never too late to do the right thing. A lifetime is but a moment in time. And we happen to be in this moment of time now where we can make change, hopefully make change that will be there for years to come, because natural resource is something that recurs forever and ever and ever and brings wealth to the communities that resource is in. So it's never too late to make the effort to do it.
What does the Minister for the Marine, Padraig McLaughlin, standing up to department officials look like?
I think that what you do is, and I won't name, but the very senior officials at the top of the Department of Marine need manners put on them. That I and Charlie are directly elected by the people. We put our platform in front of the people. They need to implement that platform. They need to implement it. They need to show respect to fishing communities. So if I were sitting as the Minister for the Marine, I would demand respect for fishing communities.
All right.
I would demand a partnership and demand that they start to represent Ireland's interest properly.
Okay, stay where you are. The Minister for the Marine, Charlie McConalogue, joins us. Charlie, I'm glad you're able to take the call. I didn't realise it was going to go down the road we did in terms of the assessment of you as Minister for the Marine. I don't know how much you've managed to hear yourself, or maybe someone mentioned that your name was mentioned. But there's strong criticism of you that you aren't standing up to Europe, that you aren't doing enough, that you aren't listening to those within the industry to help them, that you're not standing up to your Department of Marine officials.
Hi, good morning, Greg, and listen, good to be on with you. No, I haven't heard what was been said there before, but listen, glad to be able to join in the programme as well. And listen, I mean, my only objective as Minister for the Marine is something I'm delighted to be able to do, coming from the county for which it's most important in the whole country, and indeed a part of the county as well, where fishing is really important. With Greencastle next door, indeed a lot of the inshore sector being really important, and North Shown as indeed Killybegs is to our national pelagic sector. But listen, at European level, each month I attend the European Council meetings, and I'm fighting in there each month in every way I possibly can in relation to improving our fisheries position. The common fisheries policy would have been set at European level back in the early 1980s, and it was set based on various fleets' fishing activity at that time. And obviously, at national level and among our fishing sector, we want more fish, and we absolutely believe that the fishing quota we have is not representative of the amount of fish that's caught in our waters. Despite that, and despite the common fisheries policy having been set in the early 1980s based on what fleets were catching at that time, there hasn't been any change to that policy or that relative stability over the last 40 years, despite many battles at European level over that time. Now, the common fisheries policy is reviewed every 10 years. It's going to be reviewed by the end of this year again. And likewise, in terms of the run-up to that, I'm battling and engaging at European level in relation to seeking to improve our position as part of that, and have put together as well a committee of all the key fishing representatives to actually inform and develop the strategy for that. And I'm looking forward to their report, which is due to come to me now later this month or later during June. And that's very much going to inform the approach that we're taking, and any tactic and every strategy possible to improve our situation will be adopted. And that has been my form since I was appointed as Minister. The big sideways impact to the common fisheries policy, and the one big impact it's had over the last 40 years has been, in fact, the impact of Brexit, because that by the British leaving and the UK deciding to leave, that impacted quota in terms of the trade and cooperation.
Yeah, but it was us got the hammering on that. Were we not the worst affected by that deal? And you were there negotiating that deal. So, we can identify what the problem is, but you were there thrashing out the discussions, and yet it was Ireland that was chucked under the bus because of Brexit, whilst our continental neighbours, their situation either improved or didn't worsen. So what you're citing as the problem, you negotiated that problem.
No, well, first of all, the Brexit agreement was negotiated at European level. I fought very hard in terms of representing the national interest in that, as did the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Simon Coveney, and the Taoiseach, in relation to putting the potential impact that there would be in fisheries, and particularly national fisheries, as part of that. You're right in that we have taken the biggest impact from that. We're the member state that is closest to that's closest to the UK, that shares the vast majority of the stocks we fish. Are fished by the British.
But in
a
fair union, that means, because we're the most to be impacted, that we should be the most looked after.
Exactly.
Just because we're obviously the geography is important because of the waters, but simply because we're the nearest neighbours, why should it disadvantage us more than the Belgians?
No, exactly, and that's the very point I'm making at European level as well, and it's the very point we were making and we were pushing in relation to the actual Brexit agreement, that any pain that would be there in relation to Brexit should be shared equally among member states. The reality is that wasn't the case. There was no European member state that improved their position coming out of Brexit. Everybody was disimproved, but we lost.
We were disimproved the most.
We lost.
Right, stay with me, Minister.
In relation to the Common Fisheries Policy review now, the key objective I have, Greg, is to seek for that to be redressed and to have that imbalance that's there redressed. And as I did throughout the Brexit process, I worked hand in glove with the industry representatives, meeting with them all the time, taking the same approach. The approach that I took to the Brexit negotiations.
But it didn't work, Minister McConalogue. With respect, like you're saying that you were there fighting hard for Irish fishermen during the Brexit. But now we're here saying, well, we got a crappy deal, we were the worst affected, and now we have to crawl that back. You were there around that table at that time.
I'm not saying we weren't impacted. I'm not saying it worked the way we wanted to, because we didn't want to lose any fish, and that was our objective. But the challenge that was there for Brexit is that 1/3 of the fish we catch are caught in British waters. Mm-hmm. So in the event of a no-deal scenario, for example, 1/3 of the capacity to catch that 1/3 of our fish would have been impacted by not being able to fish there.
Yes.
So that was the stakes that were at play. But there's no taking away from the fact that the actual agreement that came at the end of it did impact our fisheries sector.
Okay.
And that's what now I'm seeking to have redressed as part of the Common Fisheries Policy Review, and working very closely with the sector.
Jared Kelly, Minister, you're hearing the Minister.
By them in relation to how we fight that battle too.
Jared Kelly, you're hearing the Minister. He's got he's listening to the fishing industry. He recognises the problems that are there, and he's going to fight tooth and nail for a better deal during the next round of negotiations. What more could you want?
Yeah, but when is the next round of negotiations? Because the people here, the banks won't give them enough time until the next round of negotiations. And unfortunately, I think what our department did, instead of looking for fish at Brexit, they look for money instead. They look for compensation, and very little of the compensation or the dislocation money will ever get back to the fishermen. It's going to departments, all types of people. I'd like to ask the Minister what part his department played in briefing Simon Coveney on the 5th of December 2019 when meeting the French Fisheries Minister on mackerel. Because mackerel took the greatest hit just for a short few days after that. And my understanding is, and let the Minister tell us otherwise, that Simon Coveney did a deal on mackerel for the UK, and that deal to get Brexit over the line.
Any truth to that, Minister McConalogue?
No, that's simply not true. We fought, and we were united in terms of our national approach, as indeed we were with all the fishery representative organisations. We had the one united approach in relation to trying to ensure that there would be no fish impact. The reality was in order for the Brexit deal to be done at the end, that there unfortunately was an impact, and we at all stages fought to try and minimise the impact on the country. We did have, unfortunately, an impact greater than others, and that's something that now we're seeking to change. In relation to mackerel, for example, at European level last year, I fought very hard to increase our blue whiting quota, and indeed had voted against proposals at European level, but ultimately got an increase in blue whiting quota last year. At EU Council meetings now this year, I'm fighting very hard to try and increase our mackerel quota. Indeed, the Danes, if anybody in the fishing industry will reading fisheries commentary will see where the Danish are accusing myself as Minister of trying to steal their mackerel quota and of conducting a midnight heist on them at an EU Council meeting.
Simon Coveney meeting.
That's the type of battle.
Did Simon Coveney make a concession on mackerel stocks that did or did not get Brexit over the line? Did that actually happen?
No, certainly not. Both the Taoiseach, Minister Coveney, and myself at all times fought a united battle to seek to ensure that there wouldn't be any impact in relation to.
But were you privy then to Simon Coveney making an arrangement with the British on mackerel quotas?
There was, to be clear, there was no arrangement between Simon Coveney and British, or indeed with the EU, in relation to mackerel quotas.
No problem.
All of us had exactly the same position, which was to defend.
I asked what preparations Terry McConalogue's department made in briefing the Minister for Foreign Affairs when he was visiting the French Minister in the 5th of December 2019, because from a moment when there was to be no hit on mackerel, within days there was a massive hit on Irish mackerel.
Okay.
So that was a question.
Right, okay. Sorry, I was just trying to progress it on.
Just to clarify a bit more, when the Irish government, Foreign Affairs, said they were going to brief the Minister got briefed on Brexit. The French have said at the same time Minister Coveney was coming to discuss fisheries and Brexit. And we do know that Minister Coveney was briefed by Charlie McCullough's department for
All
that.
right, just a quick sentence on that.
No, absolutely. And listen, Minister Coveney and myself, every opportunity we got to engage with fisheries ministers from other EU member states we took. And we took it in order to put across the clear message from the Irish government of the importance of holding the line in fisheries. And indeed, I would have conducted a number of meetings with other EU fisheries ministers to try and stiffen the resolve within the EU of the EU negotiating team to try and ensure that we get the best possible outcome on fisheries. And for that particular meeting, for example, in the run-up to Brexit, both myself and Minister Coveney would have met directly with the representatives of all the fishing organisations in relation to holding the national position in relation to being fully briefed. And for us to work at political level with other EU member states, and indeed for the fishing representatives themselves to work with their representative organisations in other member states. Because of course there was many things at play within the Brexit negotiations. We knew the challenge was there for fisheries, and we wanted to ensure that voice was heard loudly. Now the British, in deciding to leave the EU, wanted to reclaim all of the fish that the EU fleets, including ours, would catch in their waters.
Yeah.
They wanted 100% of the fish that we catch in their waters back. Ultimately, the deal they got saw 25% of the fish that we, the Irish, and other EU member states catch in their waters back. So we can still catch 75%.
Okay, I just want to bring Deputy...
But we didn't want to lose a single fish, and we fought tooth and nail in every way we could to try and protect that.
Jared, sorry, go ahead briefly, please.
Quick, please. And that is that the Minister always says that the UK only got 25%. Yes, but they got an extra 25%. So after Brexit, they ended up with 75%. Now, Ireland at the moment has got 15%. And I think it is very poor of the Minister to be defending the Brexit deal based on the 25% that the UK didn't get. The UK now has 75%, Ireland has 15%. And that should be something that the Minister should be focusing on. And the Minister talking about...
I'll let you back in a second, Charlie.
Just this figure came up today in blue whiting. 9,000 tonne quota of blue whiting. Norway, which isn't even in the EU, catches about 290,000 tonnes of blue whiting in our waters.
What was the Irish figure there? Because you just lagged out briefly.
29,000 tonne for Ireland, 290,000 tonne for Norway.
And I want to bring Deputy McLaughlin in, but I just want to give the Minister an opportunity to respond to that.
In relation to blue whiting, that was one gain that I did get last year fighting at European level, was an increase in our blue whiting quota, because I prevented swaps happening, which would have normally happened. I stepped in to prevent the vast majority of those swaps so that we could keep more of the blue whiting. So that was something that was done last year. But listen, we can never get enough. We're fighting all the time for more fish. But just on the point that Jared made there, so the British wanted to reclaim all of the fish that's caught in their waters with the EU fleet. They reclaimed just 25% of that. 75% of what we caught in British waters can still be caught. But listen, we wanted to keep that 100%, and we fought very hard for it. And now, in terms of the Common Fisheries Policy review, the fight is to try and improve.
And you've made that point. I want to bring the Sinn Féin Marine spokesperson in.
But just one last point.
Briefly, please.
I've been guided very much, as I say, I brought all of the fishing representatives together to put together the strategy for me to fight. Every idea they have, I will follow up, as has been the case throughout my time as Minister.
Okay, you've made that point as well too, Charlie.
I welcome the delegation to Brussels.
And you said that as well also.
Any feedback or any suggestions or ideas or learnings from the industry that they want to feed into their strategy to provide to me, I certainly look forward to hearing that and to backing them and doing all I can to
let me have a word with and thanks for waiting patiently, Deputy Power McLaughlin, your response to what you're hearing from Minister McConalogue and your view there.
Yeah, well, my appeal to Minister McConalogue is to listen to the experienced voices within the fishing community in Donegal and across the country, to stand up to his own department officials. I mean, Minister McConalogue was present at a public meeting in Killybegs recently where the anger of hundreds and hundreds of people was palpable at the Department of Marine and the SFPA. So he needs to stand up for those communities, challenge those in the Department of Marine and the SFPA who have shown such disrespect and applied bureaucratic madness. Like nowhere else in the European Union are fishermen treated the way that they get treated in Ireland. Nowhere else are they treated. Nowhere else in Europe is the level of oversight and almost criminalisation of fishing communities. So I'm saying to the Minister, and I know Charlie personally a long time, we have a good relationship, is to work with all of us together to stand up to these people.
But that sounds exactly what the Minister said he is doing. He's listening to the reps from the industry. He's fighting the fight in Europe. He's looking to achieve the best he can. I'm asking you, Deputy McLaughlin, he said he's doing what what you said he should be doing. What else could be done? What could you actually do in the same position?
Well, what I'll say is this, Greg. In recent weeks, Minister McConnell, Charlie, was at that meeting in Killybegs, and he must have taken from that meeting that there's a palpable anger and there's a sense that it hasn't been done, that they haven't been stood up to, and there was expressions of no confidence and so on. So there just needs to be a confrontation of that, and that's all I would say. All the people really ask is that we stand up to those in the Department of Marine, SFPA, we treat people with disrespect, and we go out to Europe and fight the good fight. And if Charlie's on the same page as us on that, then that's fine. That's what he needs to do.
Right. It sounds like you are on the same page, Minister McConnell. But what about standing up to maybe you could argue those that are running the show in Ireland?
Yeah, no, we are on the same page. Our absolute objective is to improve the situation of our fishers, and say any ideas or suggestions anybody has in terms of the tactics and strategies that I can adopt to do that, I'll certainly follow them up. I fight at every EU Council meeting for it. I vote against, and every other member state is absolutely sick listening to me in relation to putting the Irish case in terms of the impact on Brexit that Brexit has had on us, and they'll be even sicker listening to me over the next number of months as I continue to fight that battle. In relation to our officials, I have to say, I have found right across the department that the interest of improving our situation is very much at the heart of our officials as well. I look to focus on the issues, Greg, on calling out exactly what the things are we have to do. I do find that in relation to the commentary in fisheries, too often it gets personalised, and the attacks can be there in officials as opposed to speaking to the actual challenges we need to do and the options available to us. And listen,
I was speaking to someone. I was speaking to one of those. I think it's what you should also talk to that department, because I was speaking to one of those officials recently on this programme, and they didn't really rule out the fact that they think there are elements within the fishing industry that are egging things on, and which I thought was a little bit of a personal commentary as well, which we have to be careful on.
I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of building the relationship at national level.
In both directions is the point I'm trying to make here.
I agree, and that's. I mean, listen, I attended and I went. There was 250 to 300 at that public meeting in Killybegs, and I went along because I wanted to engage and talk and give the best account I could of where we were at and what I was trying to do, and listen to what the feedback was from all of the fishers and indeed the wider stakeholders and the community in Killybegs that were at that meeting as well.
Okay.
So listen, I think we have a lot of work to do in terms of improving relations at national level, but also then all of us really working hard at European level to actually improve our situation.
Right. I appreciate you sparing your. I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate you talking to us this morning. By the way, because it's to be actually that you come on and speak to us, it's very much appreciated. It's not insignificant, and if Deputy McLaughlin is a minister in the next government, however that pans out, I hope we'll have the same access to you, Padraig. Is that a commitment, a nod? Yeah, it is. Okay, good stuff. Listen, Charlie, thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you.
All right, take care of yourselves. Jared, thank you very much, by the way, for helping us understand it from within the industry. And I know you've got loads more that you'd love to put to the Minister and vice versa, but we got a bit of interaction there, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time. And last but not least, Deputy Padraig McLaughlin of Sinn Féin, thank you as well for facilitating this and being part of the discussion. It's very much appreciated.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, gentlemen, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, there you go. Right, that turned out to be something we hadn't fully planned for. A healthy debate, I hope, on the situation there. You heard from Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, a fisherman, Gerard Kelly, and also the Minister for the Marine, Minister Charlie McConnell. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts, keep them coming into us. Hugely important, as you know. Let's take a break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
New this week in Home Store and More. All roller blinds are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price roller blinds are gone, they're gone. Also, all water fountains and all pillows are still half price. But when all our half price water fountains and all our half price pillows are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Brave lives behind every open sign, behind every add to cart or how would you like to pay today? At AIB Merchant Services, we back Brave with payments and business solutions designed to fit your business needs, whether that's in-store, online or on the go. To discover more about how AIB Merchant Services can grow your business, search AIBMS.com. AIB, we back Brave. First Merchant Processing Ireland DAC Trading as AIB Merchant Services is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €25 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
iMotors Nissan, the place for award-winning range of vehicles including the Micra, Leaf, Duke, Qashqai and the all-new Nissan Ariya. There's a model to suit everyone. Call today or visit our website at imotors.ie for more details or call 074 913 4567 to arrange a test drive.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. €10 million worth of stock in store and ready to take home. All tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything slashed in price. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Ireland's biggest range, best prices, and in store to take home today. Sale now on.
As part of the National Food Waste Recycling Week, Donegal County Council, in partnership with Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind Limited, will be having free compost giveaway events. Householders can collect free compost made from food and garden waste. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of the food waste recycling bin. Compost giveaway days take place on Tuesday, 31st of May, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Letterkenny Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Dunlow Recycling Centre. Wednesday, 1st of June, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Carndonna Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in Milford Recycling Centre. Thursday, 2nd of June, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in Lahey Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Stranauler Recycling Centre. Householders should bring their own bags or container to collect the compost. Compost available while stocks last.
Okay, let's get to some of your comments. The main problem with the Irish fishing industry is that Irish politicians actually believe the EU or the British care what happens here. Another, I've yet to see Charlie vote against the government on anything, yet just bombards us with waffle. That's what that listener thinks. Listen, we employ a whip system in this country for right or wrong. I think it's for wrong personally, but those within politics might think it's right. I think people should be able to vote freely, but they can't. If you vote against the government, you're out. You're out, certainly out of your minister's job. You're out of the parliamentary party, so it's not insignificant. Now, a very important event is taking place today. Members of the traveller community are holding a protest outside Leinster House, calling on the Taoiseach to address what they say is a denial of their human rights. The National Travel Mental Health Network has said that successive governments have failed to address the dire conditions in which travellers are living in. And we're joined on the programme now by a regular guest on this show, Hugh Friel from the Donegal Traveller Project down in Dublin today. Good morning to you, Hugh. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you just arrived and we're not too far ahead of the event, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Greg, and I apologise to listeners for the noise. I'm just walking to the protest here.
Well, that's one of our better phone lines we've had today. Funny enough, Hugh. Come here, tell us, what is the message you want Micheál Martin to hear today?
I think what the message we want Micheál Martin to hear is, Greg, is around the systemic racism that travellers is facing in terms of suicide and mental health issues. We have a pandemic in our community of mental health, and also the suicide rate being 7 times higher. So the government and the Taoiseach needs to listen. We're handing a letter today to ask them to meet the network, which I'm part of for the last 4 years, and calling on him to look around a strategic plan to deal with the mental health issues and suicide rate within the traveller community.
Up to 90% of travellers have been affected by suicide. It's around about 82%, but it's up to 90%. Now, this is not. This is presumably we need to look at the factors that lead to this. You can identify them, Hugh. The challenges members of the travelling community face, and they're ever changing, aren't they? Talk to us about some of the things that you feel need to be addressed.
I think the forever changing, Greg, is the education system for starters needs a review. A stark review in terms of the outputs for the traveller community. Traveller children are leaving school at a very young age, or they're going into daybreak, or they're going into special initiative schools on the advice of the teacher to the parents. And what happened to a lot of traveller adults is they're going back into adult education, and they're getting their degrees, they're leaving certs, they're getting different formal education passes and certificates. So I do think that the education system needs a review on what's happened to travellers at a very young age. The systemic racism that's built into the education walls of the system has failed the traveller community.
What about identity throughout the traveller community, but even amongst young travellers? Do you think young travellers feel there is a place for Ireland in them and elements of their culture?
Yeah, I do think there's a massive issue of identity issues at the minute, because what happened is the segregation and the assimilation of young travellers and traveller families into housing estates in different areas throughout Donegal, throughout Ireland, has had a massive effect on travel culture. And so young people that these days, Craig, don't know, they're caught between two worlds in relation to their identity. They're caught between the settled world and they're caught between the travel world. And it's very difficult for young travellers to identify. And then issues of mental health, suicide, creep in, I suppose, in the sense, over the years.
Yeah, and I noticed too, and it's kind of interesting, I haven't really, young members of the traveller community on social media, I've noticed, sometimes it pops up on your timeline and they do sort of Q&As, that some of the questions they have to answer from the settled community, in inverted commas, myths that have to be dispelled, the challenges they're facing in their life. I think they're doing a good thing in spreading the word, but it goes to show the type of questions that are being asked of them, what a lot of the settled community, their view towards travellers are.
Yeah, and Facebook can be a very dangerous place as well, Craig, in relation to Instagram or Twitter, for young travellers to get bullied, isolated, and intimidation, where systemic racism happens and is allowed to happen. You've got trollers online who, that directly talk about members of the travel community, how they isolate and pinpoint young travellers within that. And that can be very, very dangerous for a young traveller to be monitored or bullied in that kind of manner.
Yeah. Do you think the government need to do a study on this right across the board, the situation? Because we have some bits of information like the behaviour and attitudes survey that I referenced. But if the government was serious about addressing some of these issues, they have to have a true understanding of it. And I don't think we have ever properly compiled that data, have we?
We haven't, Craig, and I think that they need to seriously have a review. If you look at the employment rate of 83% of travellers are unemployed, 13% of travellers is employed in travel organisations, and the other 3% is employed in mainstream employment. So if you look at that, and you look at the systemic racism, discrimination that happens in employment alone, of travellers not getting employment. So you think of what chance has somebody, a young traveller at 16, 17, 18, getting employment in mainstream areas? So the government needs to take an initiative or take a format where travellers get employed through some opportunities through the business sector.
All right. Listen, I won't delay you any further. I know you're making your way to that. We might do a follow-up with you just to get a sense of what the reaction has been. I just wanted to set the scene with you, Hugh, on such an important event, and I appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, take care. That's Hugh Friel there from the Donegal Travellers Project. They themselves recently tried to book an event that, when I say they themselves, I mean the project themselves, tried to book an event at a hotel. A hotel says, sorry, we're fully booked on that day. I understand they got another person to ring the same hotel, and they had vacancies in space there. Again, I'll invite you to text or call the show. You know the numbers. A caller says, read the new extension of a ban on Russian oil, now estimated to hit $2.20 per litre at forecourts by next week. However, good news is that Micheál Martin and the rest of our politicians won't be affected by the rise in fuel prices. Nope, the taxpayer, as usual, will cover the cost of their gas-guzzling cars. And meanwhile, Russia will find a new buyer for their oil. Once again, the only loser is Joe Public. And this new deal is... listen... If you get it by a pipe, you can, but you can't get it from the sea. You know, you can't sell it on if you get it by the pipe, but you know what's going to happen. I don't know what impact that's going to have on Russia. And listen, let's not forget, the higher the price of petrol and diesel goes, the greater the take from the state is. I just want to know why so many facilities are gone or almost gone in Carndonagh. The courthouse is closed a few years ago for refurbishment, never reopened. The day centre for senior citizens closed with the pandemic, was open 5 days per week. It never reopened. The motor tax office used to open 5 days per week, as did the library. And since opening post-pandemic, they only open 2 days a week. And the politicians and councillors are turning a blind eye. All right, what's going on in Carndonagh? It does come up from time to time at council meetings, but is services and facilities, as has been clearly outlined by that listener, being stripped from Carndonagh, never to return? And what impact might that have on that area? If you're from it and have a view on it, let us know. Warning for convincing insurance company scam calls. A lady rang and had the correct information for my husband, his name and address. But when I asked how she had this information, she hung up. She also did not say what company she was calling from. Please be aware. Okay, thank you. People and businesses like hotels and schools need to take the first step and stop flying EU flags. Well, I don't think we're talking about an Irexit at this point, but I take your point. What kind of joke is the EU when our ministers, in their own words, have to fight them for fairness? It's an interesting point. If your starting point is a battle for fairness and you're a member of this club, it's questionable, isn't it? Ireland to the EU is like Tory Island to the rest of Ireland. I lived in France for years and there was never any mention of Ireland. That's why we have to take what we get. There's others waiting on an oyster licence for the last 2.5 years. What's causing the delay? I don't know the answer to that question, but I don't think the caller expected me to throw it out there. Maybe someone out there does. All right, we still have an interesting item before 12. Stay right where you are. We'll take a break, come back with the weather and that topic I mentioned.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Kickstart your summer with inflation-busting offers at Lidl. From Thursday, get 3 for just €9 across our range of Board B-approved Irish meats. 8 cans of Budweiser now only $13.59. And find an incredible selection of garden furniture during our garden sales event, like a 4-piece lounge set for just $229.99. Lidl, more for you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
The Northwest Independent Clinic is now Kingsbridge Private Hospital. Yes, we have arrived in Ballykelly, and if you need treatment or surgery, there is no need to wait. At Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest, you will have access to over 300 consultants and hundreds of treatments and services. We are approved by all major insurance companies and self-pay options are available. In fact, treatment could cost less than you think. And with guaranteed 5-star care from treatment right through to your personalised recovery plan, we will be with you every step of the way. So why wait? Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com today.
The government is supporting Ireland's transition to electric vehicles. €100 million will be invested in EV charging infrastructure over the next 3 years. But first, we want to hear your views. To take part in the Department of Transport's public consultation today, simply visit gov.ie/EV consultation. That's gov.ie/EV consultation.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Stress-free travel, 10 minutes from car park to departures gate, and a selection of 19 destinations across the UK and Europe to choose from. Can only be one place. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so let's look at that weather forecast updated for you. Rather cloudy this afternoon with showers, some heavy or prolonged. Later, a few sunny spells too. Light northerly breezes, highest temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. A cloudy evening with scattered showers. They'll gradually begin to clear away later in the evening, and there'll be long dry spells tonight. A light northerly wind will persist. Temperatures 6 to 9 degrees. Tomorrow, a cloudy start with a few isolated showers clearing early. It'll stay cloudy through the afternoon with clear spells developing. A bit warmer tomorrow, 15 to 17 degrees. Winds light, cloudy, no sun, but maybe not too bad. Right, okay. Councillor Michael McBride, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
Right, now you have called for sniffer dogs to be brought in to police effectively the Donegal rally. Is the function of them obvious? Is it to ensure that we take as many illegal drugs off the street as possible?
Well, I suppose, Greg, we had a meeting of the Joint Policing Committee a week past last Friday. And at that meeting, I asked that we would take in, that the air support unit would be brought in and that the sniffer dogs would be taken in for the rally weekend. And I suppose, to be fair about it, it's just a matter of using the tools that's available to Garda Síochána to make sure that, if rally weekend goes off as smoothly as possible. We want the people in Donegal and their visitors to have a very positive experience. And I think that all the tools that's at the disposal of Garda Síochána should be used over that weekend.
And this is not Donegal rally specific as such, but a lot of people from around the country will be descending on the county for the rally. And, you can probably distinguish between those that have come for the motorsport element and those that come for the crack that surrounds it. Yeah. You're saying that get this information out there early, get it in place, and it'll act as a deterrent for the small group that might be inclined to bring drugs with them.
Look, at the most, I don't want to start drawing any lines on who uses drugs or who doesn't, because we do know that that's a widespread, the use of drugs in Donegal and Ireland. And I just always feel myself that the people who are genuine rally fans come to Donegal, the rally drivers, their navigators, their crews, the marshals and all these type of people and people that are motorsport fans. And, it would be nice to be on Highland Radio with a Monday after the rally saying that it was a great success. And but we do know from the past, that there's massive crowds of people come into town. And I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of the people that come into town really don't have that much interest in motorsport. They come for the social side of things. So I think, the first thing you have to do is to prepare for the weekend. And I think Donegal Motor Club have worked with Garda Síochána. I think they have a good enough plan in place. I think if they use all the tools for it, it's a great weekend for people in business in Donegal. I think it's a great weekend, for the experience.
Yeah, and we do talk about the positives, and it's 99% positive, but there are also, of course, and I know you're not trying to shut this down, there has to be a space for people who have been discommoded or upset to have their say. Planning is a word you use, really important. Are we planning now spaces where people can maybe diff their cars? Are we accommodating that? Because if we just block off all the spaces, they'll end up the back roads doing it, and then we'll be speaking to, disgruntled local residents. Have we learned any lessons from what we know will happen with this small minority that just land in Donegal, or are we just going to keep doing the same stories over and over again, I wonder?
Well, I'm not sure what people plan to do with their car parks, Greg, and it wouldn't surprise me if some people close them off. But my own opinion on it is, when you have something on like the Donegal rally, maybe at night time there should be concerts and stuff like this put on, kind of events at night time for to entertain the people that are here in town, But look, it's a very difficult one. But I think, we still have to ensure that people can get around reasonably freely, that it's an enjoyable weekend, and the people who come here to experience and want to come back to Donegal again. And look, as the man says, we're not going to, try and rewrite the books, but at the same time, like you say, we have to learn from past experiences. And some of those experiences haven't been good. And I just think that if the right plans in place and the right tools are used, that this can be made a lot more workable.
Okay, let me just ask you directly. I should have at the beginning. You made the calls for sniffer dogs to be brought in. We've had similar calls in the past. Nothing came of it. Were you given any indication if that would happen, or if inquiries would be made to see if it could happen?
Since the Joint Policing Committee meeting, I've got a reply by email to say that the air support unit is coming onto Letterkenny, and I think that has to be welcomed. It can identify pressure points and get the resources to those pressure points so as things can be handled as efficiently as possible. On the issue of dogs coming on, that has not been decided yet, and that was also on the email that there's no commitment that they will be coming. Neither did they say they wouldn't be coming.
Okay, we'll probably need that air support up most days in Letterkenny at this stage. But anyway, Councillor Michael McBride, thanks for your time this morning.
Okay,
all right, take care of yourself. Bye-bye. 086 60 25,000. In response to our conversation with Hugh Friel, a caller says, I'm a teacher and we do everything in our power to ensure we treat traveller children the same as everyone else. Then when we hear Hugh saying that the Department of Education is not looking after children within the community, it's infuriating when we do all we can for them. Hugh is obviously not still on the line to respond to that, but I think he might not be talking about individuals and teachers. I think he might be talking about how the system is structured, and teachers themselves have to work within that. So I don't think it was a personal criticism or a lack of appreciation for those that do all they can, but more the system as a whole. I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I imagine that's what he might say. This caller says, I'm a settled traveller and I was never contacted about any of the courses. I'm interested in them and this is known, but for some reason I was passed for them. A question on our social media: the draft bylaws banning of dogs on blue flag beaches during peak summer times is to go out and put to public consultation. Do you support it? Well, it's actually being applied actually from tomorrow here. The answers on Facebook: yes, 50% of you support it, 50% of you don't. On Twitter, 66% of you support it, 34% don't. On Instagram, 56% do, 44% no. We're quite divided, aren't we? And that actually probably plays out as it relates to the contacts we get on this programme as well. All right, listen, thank you.